dark clouds produce rain, right? And
Yeah.
we need rain to grow. So stop looking at that dark cloud as a burden
thing.
and freaking be receptive to the rain, because the
Yeah, let
rain's
it
going
water
to
your
end.
let it water your fucking plants.
Exactly. Let it
That's so
help you
true.
grow.
We'll do the intro first. So I'm sitting here, Adam Jay Crawford.
Hello. I am Adam.
Just the little bit of trolling that I've done on you, man. Like, you're just a walking inspiration. You know, you live through creativity. You know, you've been kind of in a lot of different situations and environments. So, like, I feel like right off the start, we're very much the same kind of people. So I felt like it was more than necessary to sit down and have a conversation and have some fun too. Because really, you know, I like this too. We do a lot of things, but we're not that serious.
Absolutely.
So, welcome to the cellar, brother. Adam Crawford is here with us.
I am 35 years old. Going to be 36 this week, actually.
Woohoo!
Yeah, that's what I'm
Nice,
saying.
man. Happy
Like,
birthday.
yeah, I'm very excited to, I just love being in my 30s so much. Like I tell people all the time, they always think it's downhill after your 30s. I'm like, no, it's actually just getting better, because then you're basically cleaning up all the stupid stuff you did in your 20s, and you're young enough to still have fun, but you're old enough to be wise. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I am very excited to be 36 this week.
Well, especially if you embrace it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because again, you know, like, I've met people that are in their 20s that feel and act like they're in their 50s. So again, you know what I mean, to just be motivated, you know, to be aware that, like, hey, aging is a real thing, but you can really, really slow down the process and even almost in some cases reverse it. We were just talking about this. Like, look at some of these people that are like 70 years old. You see them like on Instagram, you know what I mean, fit and all this shit. It's like, those kind of people didn't exist back in the day. Like, yeah, you used to get old and brittle. Now you can get older and stronger and faster, and you know, it's like, so
it's all mindset. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people just, like, they get to 30, 40 or whatever, and they just kind of give up, because they're like, oh, I don't have much longer to live, so I'm just going to kind of, skate through life. But then there's those that, like, like last night, my one fellow manager, she said that, like, she just bought a tattoo gun. And she wants to get into tattooing now, and she's almost 50, and I'm just like, see, I'm like, you go, girl, do it.
Wow. Okay.
Heck yeah.
So again, two sides to all that. Obviously, like, you know, some people don't discover their passion until much later. You know, so I mean, like, a lot of times you just don't know, because I mean, it is easy to be afraid and hesitant.
Right.
You know, but now a lot of times, like we were just talking about this before we started, like, you got to just jump in with both feet sometimes. Like, really, the only way to really know if you can do it is to get in there and fail a couple times.
Yeah.
You know, because that's what really builds your character.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I love being an artist so much. You know what I'm saying? Because it's unpredictable. It keeps things interesting. What's your yoga tea say?
I like to use the word unpredictable, because that's what I thrive on.
Yes.
You know, I mean, the unknown, brother, is like, it says, uncage your heart, free your heart, let it be wild. How fitting. You know, like, this is not really, you know, like, and the other one says, use your head to live with your heart. See, so again, all very fucking fitting.
Everything's here.
Oh, dude. So yeah, let's just know that he brought us some yogi tea to try, and immediately I'm like,
dude,
you feel it.
I swear by this tea, man. I tried it for the first time when I was probably in my mid-20s or whatever, and like the difference between this and coffee is unbelievable. And like this year, ever since my ex and I broke up, and I just decided I was going to get better about everything, I've been drinking a cup of tea every day, this yogi tea with honey, and I have not been sick since my diabetes diagnosis in January.
Looked like it was leaning. I could see that. But
I mean, they're both black, so I mean, what's the difference?
It's just all blending. But yeah, dude, trooper, man, and that's what I mean. Like, you could use every excuse not to. I'm not gonna do it. I'll get a ride, get a fucking Uber. No, man, discipline.
Yes.
You know, consistency.
Yes.
Somebody, a man much wiser than me that I can't remember his name, said something along the lines of like with discipline you need consistency, because like when you don't have that motivation to do it, like that consistency will bring you back to the motivation, you know what I mean? So like on days that you're not motivated, as long as you just know that, like, hey, I have to do this, you're going to get that motivation back usually 10-15 minutes into your workout or so. You're like, this is why I fucking get up and get out of bed and do this, because I feel so much better every time I do it.
Yeah, it's even better when you see results.
But again, like we talked about, like instant results, unrealistic. How long do you gotta do this and stay committed to something before you even see an ounce of fat shedded? So it's like you really have to just trust the process.
Yeah,
man, this is good tea.
I told you,
dude. I wanted to note also, because you said about coffee, most people that drink coffee, what do? Load it full of sugar and all of this stuff, because that's what's going to make me pepped up. The caffeine and the sugar. There's not
lower it a little bit, like the bar.
What?
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Perfect.
okay. There you go.
You.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yogi tea.
Yogi tea.
The only tea for me.
Oh. The tea in triumph. That's right.
God, it's so good. But I wanted to just note that there's not a grain of sugar in this. Didn't put any sugar in this at all. And boy, the flavor is out of this world. I really, really was surprised, especially mixing the two.
I always mix my yogi teas. Like I have a green tea one, and I have I don't even remember. There's different flavors for different reasons of what it does to your immune system and your mind and stuff like that. And I always mix them with a spot of honey and lemon.
Hell yeah. And again, adverse effects. It's good for your voice. It's good for your mind. It's good for your skin. That kind of stuff, dude, just goes such a long way. Again, because we're all fed this stuff that's just unfortunately so bad for us. It's like all the most easily accessible stuff is the worst stuff for you. Like you have to really go out of your way. Like, because I would have never looked for a yogi tea. And it's so me too, because it's got the little inspirational message. Like I said, like I pop a Snapple, and that's my favorite part. I just love information, and
Heck yeah, man.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, with the discipline thing, we're gonna be talking a lot about that today, and the questions that you have for me and stuff. Like, yeah, I can't wait to dive in. This is awesome.
And yeah, I tried not to format again like too much of a structure, because like I feel like we're gonna have no trouble talking.
No, not at all.
But let's start with, you said you're not a bouncer anymore. How long did you do that? What was that experience like?
Oh my, being a bouncer. So number one, it was something that I never thought I would do in my life. Because like,
even though that you look like a strong guy, people might be
yeah, well, like I've always been drawn to like and conversations for another time. But I've always been drawn to like violence and stuff like that. Like action movies are my favorite genre. And actually, this upcoming week, I'm going to get back into MMA. I'm going down there to solidify my membership here, because I did it for a little bit, but I was working on the lumber yard at the same time. So yeah, I had to get rid of something. So I was just like, yeah, I can't do this MMA and the lumber yard at the same time. I was like 31 at that point. Then I was like, I'm not trying to age myself 40 years. So,
you did for real.
But yeah, no, I've always been a fit guy and stuff like that. But I never thought I'd be a bouncer, because truth be told, I just don't really like the club environment or the bar environment.
Okay.
But like when I stumbled upon that opportunity, the owner and one of my friends, Joe, he had just opened up his arcade in Invictus in Du Bois, Pennsylvania, and people were just going into the arcade without paying, and he wanted somebody to make sure that they don't do that.
Right.
So I'm just like, hey, I can help you, like make sure that people don't go into the arcade. And he's just like, well, why don't you just be one of my bouncers? And I'm just like, I mean, all right, I'll try it out. And
well, when they call it that too, you're like, oh shit, am I gonna have to like rough somebody up?
Oh, bro, I had to. I put my hands on a lot of people.
I was willing to guard the gamers playing the arcade games, but like now I gotta deal with drunk idiots and fucking.
Yeah, drunk idiots and wild women, man. It was like I did it for about a year and a half, or no, maybe like a year and like 2 months or something like that.
Oh wow.
From October 2023 until literally right at the end of December of last year. And there's quite a few stories that I could share.
Let's go stand out. We don't have to go diving into all of them, but what would stand out?
What would stand out? Well, it's so hard to answer that question, because like whenever someone tells me to tell the wildest story, they all hit at once, and I'm just kind of like, let's see here. So I'll tell a funny one. So there was one time when a girl came in, and you know, like I was talking with the manager, so my back was turned, so I wasn't really paying attention. But then this girl came in and she instantly attacked the DJ stage. Supposedly the girl that her boyfriend was cheating on her with was up on the DJ stage with her boyfriend. So she came in and just instantly attacked. And I went over there and, well, they called me over because, you know, the music's playing and all of a sudden I just hear, AJ, AJ, AJ. I'm like, ooh, this is a cool remix, you know? I was kind of there just like, whatever. And then I turn around and the DJ's just like, AJ, come here, you know? And I was like, oh, funny. I'm like, oh crap, there's something going down, you know? So I went over there and I went to her and I'm just like, you know, get off the stage for one and calm down. And she, you know, she was like, who the fuck are you? And just like pushes me on the chest. So I picked her up, walked off the stage and set her down. And I said, that's your warning. And she's just like, don't fucking touch me. So I'm like, all right, she's not getting it. So I threw her over my shoulder. I'm walking out. And where the humor comes in is that for some reason that night, I don't know why I did this, but I decided to wear my sweatpants, and it's the pair that doesn't like to stay up. So I get to the door, and this chick is kicking and screaming and stuff. I have her in one arm, and my other hand is trying to pull my pants out because they keep falling down. And my boss got it on camera, and it looked so awkward because I'm literally there like this, like trying to get her out the door, and my butt's hanging out the whole time.
You're just somehow doing it to the beat.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. It looked like a really bad softcore porno.
Twerking this fucking muscle guy. He's this girl around.
It was bad. It was embarrassing, but
like some George of the Jungle fetish or some shit.
Yeah, it was. It was something, you know. George just got lucky.
Was she sober?
No, okay. She was definitely, you know.
Man, well, this is the problem with alcohol and people that just don't know their limits.
Right.
But I was wondering because in that situation again, like you just never know what's gonna fucking pop off. Like literally, like you're getting the fucking radio call, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. I mean, there's been some times where I had to, you know, even go against my own bouncer, you know, to get him under control. Yeah. Oh, wow. So like, it was an experience for sure. But that guy, you know, like his name's Bill. He's one of my best friends. He's one of my brothers. You know.
Oh, good.
You know, brothers fight. You know, so like, you know, but him and I just had two completely different mindsets when it came to bouncing. You know, he's in there to get in a fight. I'm in there to protect people, you know, de-escalate, you know what I'm saying? So like.
Yeah, and that's a funny, interesting, you know, like kind of trajectory because I mean, like that's what we were talking about. If anything, you know, like no matter what situation you're in, if you're just someone that kind of like feeds on the confrontation, you could be a cashier and you're like, you know what I mean? You're just ready to get into an argument with somebody. So like that might not be the best position for someone to be a police officer or a bouncer. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
it takes an immense amount of patience.
Find productive ways to get your aggression out, like you know, boxing, MMA. There's 1,000 different ways you could do it. Yeah. So like physical altercation. That was a female. Mm-hmm. Did you ever have to deal with any men? Because again, at least you could throw up over your arm. What would you have done if she would have been a 400-pound white woman and she would have pushed you off the stage? You know what I mean? Like it's not like they're all gonna be easy.
At that point, I would have called Bill over because Bill's a little bigger than me. Like Bill's much bigger. His nickname is Big Bill. You know, so like he is pushing about. Well, at the time he was pushing about 280, 300 pounds. So. If there is, because like I'm not afraid to admit what I can't, you know, what I can't,
right?
You know, but even if they're bigger than me, I'm still going to try. But if I'm ever struggling, no, I call Big Bill over. And plus that, like the customers at Invictus, they were really engaged with like me, and like I was really engaged with them. So like if some of them, if they ever saw me in trouble or struggling, they would come over and help out, you know.
And that probably plays to your. Just who you are as a person, because again, you're the door guy. You could be the guy that says, "Hey, I'm the one who decides who's in here and who's not." Mm-hmm. But you're a nice guy. We're on the same level. You know what I mean? Like I'm just trying to mitigate the peace. Everybody have a good time. So you're on the same level as those people that are coming.
Yeah, man. Like there were some nights where I just let loose with the customers. I'd be out there dancing with them and all this other stuff. And you know, a lot of them, you know, before a couple instances, you know, they're like, "You're way too nice to be a bouncer," until somebody pissed me off. And I'm just like, I gotta do my job now. Now I gotta be ugly, and I don't like doing that. I don't like confrontation, you know.
Well, like I said, you're not there to police it. Essentially, you're just there to make sure that everybody has the best time possible and stays safe. Because again, you could be standing in the corner like this, just waiting. Like what's that guy doing?
Oh, there are some nights where I did because, but it wasn't because I was necessarily policing. It was just because I was bored and I was annoyed.
Well,
Because I can't stand drunk people.
It would be fun. I mean, like, you wield a little bit of power. Again, I mean, there'd be days where I'd be like, maybe tonight I'm going in like Men in Black.
Yeah.
Like I'm fucking ready to look for everybody. I want to feel like Secret Service.
At the beginning there was a little bit. I ain't gonna lie. At the beginning there was a little bit of satisfaction to it because as soon as people would see me walk up, they're oh shit, and they stop what they're doing. But then after a couple weeks of that, I'm like, okay, listen, I'm a person just like you. I'm not trying to bust your balls here. Right. I want us all to have a good time. I want us all to dance. Get jiggy with dance. Like I'll dance with you. Come on.
Well, and I think it's fun too that unless you. I mean, like, let's say it this way. If you weren't working at that place, you might not be a customer of that place. You probably wouldn't be in there at the club, and you might not be in there doing that.
No, because I actually tried to leave earlier. I tried to leave in January of 2024 because I was just over it. But, that's when I met... I don't like to call her my ex because I feel like our whole relationship was just a waste of time. So, I'll just call her my placeholder. She was my placeholder. That's when I met my placeholder, and for some reason, I decided to stay because of her, because she liked going out. There's this subconscious.
She kind of used you a little bit as a fucking way in.
Oh, bro, she did. She did, because I find it because if you sit there and you look at our timeline, she was actually banned from Invictus for probably about 3 months or so because God forbid a girl looked at me.
And she wants to be with a bouncer at a club.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people said. They're just like, "Yo, he works at a club. He's going to get looked at. He's going to get hit on."
Every chick's ID. Everyone's coming in. Yeah,
and she was just not having it, bro.
It's your job to look them up and down and make sure that they're good.
Right. And so she was banned for 3 months because she had an outburst. And when she came back, I'm actually going to give credit where credit is due. When she came back, there was this one girl that was just like she would not take no for an answer from me. And for some reason, my placeholder got it in her mind that she was going to put these those candy peanuts in my pocket to store for later. No, sometimes when she was drunk, she was freaking hilarious. I give credit where credit is due. So she's giving me all these peanuts to put in my pocket to store for later. And this other girl, while she was in the process of putting the peanuts in my pocket, this other girl was like, "Don't touch him," and swatted her hand away. And my placeholder looks and goes, "Excuse me? That's my boyfriend." And at that point, I just walked away. I'm like, "Nope, I'm not getting in the middle of this." Oh my God, but she handled herself very well that night, But then when I left in January or December, the end of December, whatever. Then we broke up in February. So I'm pretty sure it was he's.
Yeah, as soon as you weren't the fucking access pass to the nightlife.
I mean that I think that may have a little bit to do with it, but there's a bunch of other benefactors, that I.
Well, and some would say again, some people like the confrontation, some people feed off the drama, because in a logical sense, I mean, and I've said this to multiple people. Well, okay, if you don't like that, my job requires me to either be around, look at, see, be looked at, or touch other females, then we should probably just move on because unfortunately my job requires me to do those things. So, if anything, I would say that wouldn't you advocate for the fact that I'm in this position because I'm not a creep, I'm not a dirtbag. I'm actually the one that's out there looking for the well-being of the female that might be too drunk, might be getting fucking, sleazed on by some dude, you know what I mean? As opposed to a bouncer that might be in there looking to see who they can get with and who they can take in and take out and use their power to get up a skirt. Mm-hmm. It's but you're actually a decent person in that position to where you're actually keeping people safe, protecting people, her in the same sense. It's
yeah, my biggest thing with that job, the biggest empowering thing I could get was when a girl would come up to me and be like, "I only come here because I know you're looking after me." Because I did not take sexual harassment lightly. Okay, to a degree. If a girl is encouraging it and then, she wants to cry. She wants to cry victim.
Yeah,
then
if you're
I'm
out
just
there
like
twerking and somebody smacks your butt, like
yeah, and it's like I mean to a certain degree with that too, because if let her dance. If she wants to go out there and advertise herself, fine, whatever.
You're right.
But like when you are advertising yourself to a specific dude because he's buying you drinks, and then he wants to get more handsy, and then you want to cry victim, I'm just like, no, you played with the fire. Now deal with the burn.
Right.
You know. But now I will tell that guy, you know, like you need to chill. But at the same time, I'm just like, I'm not going to kick him out because you trapped him.
Right.
Like because that's not entirely his fault.
Right. If anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if anything, you're on this side of the bar, you're on this side of the bar, and call it good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because most times, like, you know, a conversation saves a lot of things. Hey, I'm uncomfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And if you take it past that point, now we have a problem. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and it got to a point where you could just kind of tell. You could kind of tell the guys that were legitimately like creeps. You could tell when a girl was legitimately like worried and scared.
Well, and you're there all the time, so you probably see if there's, you know, I mean, a pattern forming, you know, with certain people, or obviously even if it's not the same person, you see behavioral patterns to where like, oh, okay, I can fucking watch this guy's, starting here and he's moving in on this fucking girl, or he's, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that from the bird's eye view, you see a lot more than what most people do.
You know what? It's really awesome that you said that because, you know, in lieu of what we're going to talk about today, some of those times it was literally like writing a story and watching a story because you know you have your beginning, middle, and end. You have your plot point 1, plot point 2, plot point or climax, whatever. And you would see these people come in. This is the beginning. They're sober, and you could kind of tell within the first hour what their intents are. Like if someone's just coming out to let a load off, if someone's coming out to pick up a chick or pick up a man, or if someone's coming out to be an infidel and cheat, or you know, if someone's coming out just to be with their friends. So you have your beginning, and then it slowly builds to the middle, and the middle is always when they get drunk, like that point where you know they're drunk.
The real them comes out a little bit.
Yes, and then that's when it goes from plot point 1, which is, you know, the challenge that the protagonist accepts for himself, to the midpoint where the whole story changes.
Yeah, and you find out their motivations and why they're really there.
Exactly. And then it climaxes in either, okay, I'm either going to have to kick this person out or just let them go, have their fun, you know, whatever. So, like, yeah, it's really interesting that you said that because it was. Every night was a story, you know?
Well, especially when, you know, like I said, you're looking at it with, you know, these eyes to where, like, you have a little bit of film sense, you know, screenwriting. I mean, like, because you can see, like, oh shit, the plot's thickening.
Yeah,
you know, like, I do that all the time when people watching, like, oh shit, what the fuck's going on over there?
Yeah, man, like being a writer, like literally everything is a story. Everything's a plot. Everything's a plot device. Like it's just
I said everything is content. It's like, boy, like what we're doing right now. This is a fucking, you know, this is the thing. We should be filming it. You know,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's crazy. It's crazy. I love looking at life that way.
I don't even know if I have them.
So you're like so naturally, you know, when you're looking at things like that, you look at things differently than how other people do, you know. And I think that just ties into like what we've talked about off and on with the eccentric mind of an artist and why it's so hard to date us or to you know.
Well, it's weird because in this sense, it's not like I'm a plumber or a carpenter. It's like as an artist, I'm always on the clock. I am constantly forever in that position where it doesn't matter if I'm on the toilet, I could be fucking in the supermarket, or I could be sitting in my chair ready to do a tattoo. I'm always an artist, and I'm looking at everything as art. Everything is in some way a creative process. I think of everything, you know, like the framework of everything. I don't care if it's a word or a picture or a, you know, a person. It's like, you know, everything is a walking and moving piece of art, and it's like, it's you know, it's just, it's all right here. You know what I mean? Like, again, like I could enjoy shooting photos of this can, or you know what I mean? It's just really anything is art, you know, and it's cool because we all experience it in such different way to where, like, if we have the opportunity to sit down and talk, it's like, man, we could both be looking at the exact same thing and have completely different, you know, feelings about it, perceptions of it. Same thing with being in the club with a bouncer. You know, your whole goal in there is completely different. So as an artist, you don't ever have the chance to turn it off. You know what I mean? Like, I don't punch out as an artist. You know, you got to deal with this every day, my fucking madness and my craziness, and, you know, it's just
100%, man. And you know, that's why I think most people don't understand is that our brains don't stop. You know, even if we, because like, you know, like you said, a blue collar worker, they show up to their job site, they do their job, they can leave work there, go home, be a family man, whatever.
And not think about that thing at all.
Exactly.
Like, how weird would that be?
Exactly. But, like, that would be really weird because, bro, like, you don't, like, as a writer, I don't stop thinking about my characters. I don't stop thinking about my stories.
Right.
And I can even be, like, solely focused on something at my actual job. And still, in the back of my head, I'd be like, what would my character Naoki Wolf think about this? Like, how would he handle this situation? And then that leads into another rabbit hole. Like, if this is how he would handle this situation, so how's he going to handle this situation in the story that I'm working on? How's that going to spiderweb into the rest of the characters and stuff? Like, it's a constant domino effect that just keeps going.
Right. And it's funny that you said it because, like, I mean, I've worked regular jobs. I've stocked shelves at Walmart and stuff like that. And it's like, even in those senses, if we're working a regular job, I'm still pulling information and inspiration from everything.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, I'm stocking shelves and having the best time of my life because, like, I'm thinking of, like, if I filmed this and, like, this could be in a movie or this could be a scene, what would happen if, you know what I mean, something interjected? It's like it goes back to you literally cannot fucking escape it. It's a constant, like, just, it's almost like a black hole or something. It's just constant, like, and it's just ever evolving, And
I think the other important thing is too that people have to keep in mind is there is a difference between somebody that creates art and an artist.
Oh,
so anyone can draw a stick figure and call it art. Because that is your subjective point of view.
Right.
This stick figure is art, but an artist can draw a stick figure that connects with people. That, like, they see themselves in that, and that goes from a stick figure to something iconic. Right. And it goes from, iconic to legendary, and it's part of pop culture. Like, when Stan Lee sat down and created Spider-Man, I'm sure, he wasn't just thinking about, I'm going to create another superhero because I'm bored or whatever. He's thinking that I'm going to create a high school kid that has real world problems, because there are high school kids out there that have real world problems. And, I want to inspire them to be something extraordinary.
Right.
So I'm going to add the element of this high school kid's going to be able to stick to walls and shoot webs and have super strength.
Every dream that every little kid would have to jump and fly and swing. And,
exactly.
What I mean? It's like you take all of those, like, very elementary things that every kid, and it's funny too, because it's like, is that because we were monkeys once? You know what I mean? Like, are we, you know what I mean? So, like, I look at Spider-Man, I'm like, he's really just kind of a fucking hyped up monkey. You know what I mean? Like,
he is.
Swinging and, you know what I mean? Just all the movements and all the, it's like, man, so, like, our evolutionary path is really not derived, or deterred much, because, like, we're all kind of still aspiring to do the same thing. I watch people do parkour. I'm like, we've been doing that for centuries. You know
and
what
then,
I mean? Like,
and then in 2006, it was all of a sudden like, oh.
It's just so weird, They're like, where these ideas come from. I watched the thing with George Lucas, and he's like, and it was like they're filming just before he sat down to, like, start writing, what is now one of the most famous Star Wars movies ever. But, he's just so cavalier. He's just so, he's like, I got everything. I got my cigarette. I got my coffee. I got my paper. Now all I need is a fucking idea. You know what I mean? Like, and that's where it started. That's how normal he was. I mean, because we've all been there as an artist. Like, man, I got everything I need. I've got all the tools. I've got the, the environment. I got the space. I got all the things. But now I just need my brain to connect all of these things.
And that's what we were just talking about. Like, we don't stop. Like, and the thing that other people, I think, that they don't understand is that, like, how they treat us and what they do to us. That's going to be, people are going to know. Either inadvertently or directly,
right.
Because, like, we are artists. Like, our art is our journaling. Our art is our interpretation.
Right.
So, like, if you're treating me like trash, then, especially as a writer and a storyteller, like, it's going to end up in my work.
Right.
Because this is how, it's not an attack against you. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm trying to make sense of your behavior, and I'm trying to turn it into a cathartic, healthy way of, moving forward. You know what I'm saying? Well, so, like...
Well, and that's one thing that's very lucky to be an artist, because, unfortunately, regular people that deal with pain turn to other things, alcohol, booze, drugs, you name it, for an escape, to essentially process that pain, that trauma, and then figure out how to deal with it and move on. So, like, as an artist, we are in a constant state of expression.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, day to day, if you make me feel some kind of way, that's going to translate to my work in some way. Whether, today I decided to do a dark and black and gray tattoo because I was feeling oppressed or I was feeling some kind of way
Mm-hmm.
or not listened to or heard or something. But also, too, in your writing, you've got a little bit more power with words,
Mm-hmm.
to where an image could just be interpreted 1,000 different ways. But with words, I mean, like you're processing that and channeling that through you and reaching an understanding that you might not have had otherwise. You know what I mean? Because again, we can talk all day, you might not get it, but you
Mm-hmm.
sit down to write and you think, okay, well, if I detach myself from this entirely and I think about all of the characters involved and why they would have done this and what kind of reaction they were looking to get or how did the other people react to that, so it's like you have an opportunity to like break down everything and see every moving piece of it,
Right.
and all of the narratives and all of the reasonings and just the backgrounds and stuff that normal people wouldn't even take the time to consider.
Exactly.
But when you write a story and you understand where people got to come from and where they're going and what their motivations are, you have a better perspective. You're heightened.
And that's the curse of being a writer, because like I literally am making a living and a career off of creating behaviors for a narrative based off of experiences and just like what I take in with my cognitive,
Right.
abilities. So like that's what I think a lot of people underestimate that, how much I'm actually paying attention to. Because like I said on my one Facebook post when I was talking about this rad that I have, um what's the acronym for it? Radical attachment disorder. That's what rad is. So what basically
Radical attachment.
yeah, so radical attachment disorder, what that is, it basically means that I don't trust anybody. Because when I was growing up, so RAD is something, it's a rare condition, I guess. I don't know much about it. I'm just going off what my therapist told me, but it's a rare condition found in adults that actually started in childhood. That means when you were a child, you did not properly bond with a caregiver.
Oh, wow.
You never bonded to anybody. The only person that I did actually bond with was my adopted mom, and she died back in 2021. So,
wow. How old would you have been then?
I was 31.
Okay.
So by then, and another thing I learned in psychology is like about 70% of what we do as adults, we learned in our first 5 years as
Ooh.
kids. So like, trust, respect, love, all that. And my first 5 years was spent, being passed around to different homes, experiencing violence, sexual assault, and neglect and abandonment in Philadelphia. So like, yeah, so now that I'm an adult, it takes a lot for me to even entertain trust in somebody. So after my placeholder and I broke up in February, we spent the last couple months like, working on ourselves, whatever, and we both made mistakes along the way, you know what I'm saying? But like ultimately though, I wanted to work out with her and stuff like that. And here she was literally building a life with another guy. And I found out the hard way because I went to her house one night. Um, and I went there to say goodbye to the kids, to get my stuff, and hopefully talk to her. And that was the first I met this guy. Everybody else knew who he was, but
wow.
I was the only one that didn't. So, she put a 30-day PFA on me for trespassing, and all that stuff. Well, actually, the funny thing about it is that incident, when the cops came, they washed it. They're just like, you guys had a verbal.
Yeah, you were just there. You didn't do anything.
Yeah, like we got in a screaming match, and then it was verbal, whatever. She almost knocked me over when I was there, and to avoid any sort of injury, I grabbed her arm and kind of swung her to the side so she wouldn't get injured and I wouldn't fall. And she tried to claim physical abuse and all this other stuff. It was a mess. But the cops washed it. 4 days later, she filed the emergency PFA because her cousin was giving me all the tea, and I was finding out truths. So, but like I ain't here to pick scabs, whatever.
It's unfortunate, but again, thank God that you're the person that you are, because a lot of these things would fucking destroy people mentally.
Yeah, and I ain't gonna lie, it did derail me there for a second, but it's over, it's done with. Yeah, no. So like my rad, I said it on Facebook the other day. I told all the single ladies, I'm just like, don't shoot your shot because I'm not a safe place right now. Because I don't trust any of you, and I've never been wrong about a girl, like, ever. And so again, we're going to circle back to what we were just talking about with being a storyteller and creating the psyche of the characters that you're writing and stuff like that. Like I've literally trained my brain to read people and read mannerisms.
Right.
You know, so like sometimes when I don't even want to, like
and that's where like, you know, again, you never dreamed to be a bouncer.
No.
But boy, did you realize like I'm actually really good at this because I can understand people's patterns and their behavioral.
Exactly.
Again, you can kind of have hindsight of somebody's motivations and understand, well, you know what, they're actually in this for themselves and they're kind of trying to take advantage of me. It's like, so, you know, as an artist, I feel like we have a heightened sense of those things because we're very on the surface, expressive, wear our hearts on our sleeves, all that shit.
Yes.
You know, and it's just like, you know, I think that the hardest part about it, as far as trusting someone coming in from the outside, is like, well, as an artist, you know, I put myself out there every day. I'm the most vulnerable person ever because all the things that I love and care about are out there for everybody to see. I put it on paper, I put it on scan, I put it on, you know what I mean? Like, you can see it, I express it. And like you said, in real time, you can see if I'm in a good place or a bad place. So it's like, I'm out there, whatever it is, you know, like here I am. So as an artist, it's like, well, they know all of this. So they coming in knowing that I'm weak right now, knowing that I'm vulnerable right now. They know that I'm not in the right place. They looking to, you know what I mean? So it's like, well, you know, you have to be a little bit more aware and cautious because everybody knows who I am and where my headspace is. And if you're coming into my space, I have to really be careful. Are you coming in to benefit yourself, or are you coming in to benefit me? It's like,
and that's one of the dangers of being an
scary,
artist.
dude.
You know, we literally put targets on our back, and people will shoot. You know, because like they know our hot spots, they know our buttons. But here's the reverse Uno
some
card.
people just want a piece of the pie.
Yeah, exactly. You know, they want to ride the high because, you know, like I said in the one Facebook post, I was just like, you know, everybody loves me when I'm out here winning awards and all this other stuff. But like, as soon as I show that little bit of vulnerability, then all of a sudden I'm dangerous and I'm lethal and, you know, I'm toxic. And, you know, it's just like, why would I want to get in a relationship ever? You know, when that's how I've been treated literally for like ever.
Yeah,
you
nobody
know?
Can maintain it all the fucking time. You know, as far as just like, I mean, everybody's got to be allowed to fucking, you know, take a step back. But yeah, so I would argue that, you know, with the target thing too, I've said this for a long time, and this is, you know, unique to my situation, and I would argue maybe, I don't know, other salon things, whatever. But I always thought it was really weird for me is like, so someone can come off the streets, I've never met them before, but they know so much about me because again, you know, public profile, public figure, whatever you want to call it, you know, you're out there. So someone that walks up to me for the first time, they know how much I make an hour. They know what I do every day. They know, you know what I mean? Everything that I feel and think and want. So it's like, man, like my fucking, what I make is printed. It's on the door. $100 an hour. You think that there's not a small percentage of women that would be like, shit, that motherfucker makes $100 an hour. I'm going to go and be real cute, you know, and like, let me ride that wave for a little bit. You know what I mean? And like, I've had it happen more times than I can count. And that creates an environment to where like anybody, it's like, well, what are your real intentions? You looking to just get some free tattoos and fucking skate? Because I've had that happen too. You know what I mean? Like, because everybody wants to find love, and it's like somebody approaches you and like, you know, cares about you and wants to, you know, because again, they know everything about you. They know what you like, they know what you don't like, because I express it every fucking day through my art.
Exactly.
So like they can play those little heartstrings and whatever you need to be the person that, you know, they think you want, and then they just get what they want and skate.
And it sucks too, bro, because like since we're so vulnerable and we're so out there, it's just kind of like, well, now how do we protect ourselves? You know, because we can't really protect ourselves, but people don't understand that us putting our stuff out there, it's not just us creating, it's also us protecting ourselves. Because like, you know, we are taking these feelings, these negative feelings and these negative like experiences that you're instilling in us, and we're turning it into a positive.
Right.
You know, so that's why I feel we can be vulnerable. That's why I feel we can be out there and we can, you know, let our secrets slip or whatever, because it doesn't matter what you give me, I'm going to turn it into something empowering.
Right. Absolutely, dude. And that's something that I've told people, because they're like, well, how, you know, I don't want to do the podcast. I don't, you know, want to be essentially held accountable, you know, but it's like, dude, there's nothing that I would say sitting right here on record that I wouldn't have said to, you know, the person that I might be complaining about or had an issue with, you know, because I am who I am, man. It's like, you know, I'm not going to change that for anybody. And it's like, you know, to live in that headspace, it's like you almost have a little bit of armor.
Yeah.
Because again, like, shoot it at me, brother. Shoot me your biggest, darkest cloud, because there's a good fucking chance that I'll fucking take it and fucking shoot it into something amazing.
Yes.
And like that's the biggest revenge is like, like
Yes,
keep it coming.
it's so satisfying too, because through that process of turning the negative into a positive, you find out who that person really is. Because if they were in it for the wrong intentions from the beginning or whatever, they're going to run away because they know they can't beat you.
Right.
And and then some of the times when us artists, when we have our breakdowns and stuff, people don't understand that is because we are coming back to reality, because for once in forever our brains are actually shutting off. And being an artist is hard because you're so wrapped up in all that stuff that's going on that sometimes you ignore what's going on in reality. So when your brain finally shuts off, you're just like, man, I really dated her, or man, I really spent all that money.
I've said that fucking almost verbatim before. It's like, it's a weird state of existence because as an artist, you're forced to see the good in everything. You want to see everything's potential. I don't care. It could be a turd wrapped in garbage, and I'm like, you know what? That could be something someday. You know what I mean? Like, I'm an artist, so I can fucking make that.
It took you a second.
Holy fuck. Yeah, it took a good. So it's dangerous, like literally no matter what it is. Fuck, now I lost my fucking train of thought. But yeah, so like it's fucked up. You could literally take anything and make it into something beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. And I just feel like, and the term that I started coining this past week is trauma llamas.
Nah, I love it.
Because basically what a trauma llama is, it's somebody that weaponizes their trauma, to treat people how they want, to be ignorant, to put up distance, to put up walls. And I get it. There's a certain extent where you got to protect yourself. But why are you protecting yourself? Are you protecting yourself to be productive, or are you protecting yourself because you're hubris? You think that you're never wrong. And bro, like freaking after the past couple, I'm gonna be up on here and make myself sound like a man whore because I'm not. I promise I'm not. But like after the last couple of well, there was one serious fling, and then there was another one that was just like a friend and acquaintance, but we talked. But like, bro, like they freaking took everything to the umph degree because they're traumatized and because of their experiences and because I had the girl that I was actually serious about, I had one bad night, and it was because work got a little crazy, and I got a ride home with a attractive young woman. I would never know because
her attraction level is irrelevant a lot
of
times.
Yeah, but like she took it serious though because I have a thing for redheads. Like redheads are my thing.
You just ended up in the car alone with a redhead.
Yeah, exactly. That's what she said too. And I'm like, no, I went outside. My ride wasn't there, and she was there. So I was like, hey, can you just take me home real quick? And she's like, yeah, but I got to stop at Walmart real quick. I'm like, okay, cool. And so we went to Walmart. And then I went home and I tried to call her back and she didn't answer. I was going to leave a voicemail. She doesn't have her voicemail set up. I'm like, okay, whatever. She'll respond when she can. And then I went to go visit my best friend, Lakin.
You didn't even sweat it. You didn't think of that?
No. And then I went to go visit my best friend, Lakin, because I haven't talked to her in umpteen months. And after Lakin and I were done talking, I checked my phone and I responded to her. I told her everything that I did, everything that went on. And this girl freaked.
Oh, no.
Like straight up freaked. She was calling me a piece of shit. She was saying that everything I say is silly today. And yeah, like it was a whole thing, bro. And I'm just sitting there like I wish that like it was a TV show and you could just like cut back and forth to me and her because you cut to her and she's like, "You piece of shit. Good night, Adam. Like I can't believe this." And then you cut to me like like, what you mean?
You're still in shock. Like, wait, you have a problem with the fact that I was just in the same vicinity as another woman? Like, because, like, that can happen without intercourse.
Exactly. Thank you. Somebody else said it.
That's
somebody
else
said
fucking moral of the story.
And like, yeah, no, but we tried to talk it out. I tried to talk it out, but she just kept being so abrasive and verbally abusive. And, just a couple days before that, she was telling me she loved me and all this stuff. I'm like, this is not love.
Well, and I don't like the whole using that term, you know what I mean? Because at the same time, it's like, well, we're just trying to have an understanding. Mm-hmm. Okay, you feel your way. Mm-hmm. I'm not demonizing you for how you feel. I'm not telling you that you're wrong. You're telling me that it's just absolutely wrong that I did those things, but you're not really explaining to me why. Because again, if two just human beings, adults, different genders are in the same room, is that a problem? Because if that's a problem, then we have bigger problems. Because again, you know, I mean, like context is everything. You know, I mean, what you're doing, what, you know, what the intentions are. We just discussed this.
Right, and you know, here's the thing, though, Rhett. I did not fault her for feeling how she did. I told her you're valid. Like I understand,
Because
especially
it
with your
looks
trauma.
bad. It can
It
look
did
bad.
look bad. It did look
Especially if you have
shady.
a history of, you know, people have done that to you before. Same
Exactly.
thing.
Oh,
I can
this
understand.
girl's history, but this poor woman. Like I would never wish her history on anybody. So
Right.
I understood it, and I
Right.
told her, I'm like, listen, Chica, like I get where you're coming from, but I am not your exes. You do not have to project that anger towards me. But she
Right.
just wasn't having it, bro. So like it just got to a point where I was just kind of like, you know, like I gotta
Well,
now I gotta protect
if
myself.
they're not going to see you for who you really are,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? How are you going to be demonized for things that you never did and might not have ever even done to anybody? You know what I mean? Like, so.
And that's the thing, man. Like, you know, like there are billions and billions of people in this world. We are all going to have similarities to the ex or the perverted uncle or, you know, the abusive mom,
Well, that's where,
whatever.
like, those triggers. It's like, okay.
Exactly.
I mean, yes, I get every little thing could be a trigger, but at the same time, you have to pick and choose your battles, too. You know what I mean? If I'm looking at someone that's an upstanding guy, he hasn't shown me any reason to think anything otherwise. Yeah, maybe that unanswered text made me feel like my ex was doing that to me again. But this is a different guy. It's a different fucking person.
Disassociation.
You know, so it's like, you know, you have to really be able to, you know, and that's where I think that the problem is that not enough people take time to get a hard reset. Like if I'm in a relationship and it was terrible and I was traumatized, it did X, Y, and Z to me, and I'm just not ready, then you need to accept the fact that you're just not ready and you shouldn't be with somebody. You know, heal yourself, get yourself right, get your mind right, be a productive, contributing member of society, and then go try to pair yourself with somebody.
Bro, it's social media. Like social media literally like, bro, listen.
Well, and people now have this incessant need where they got to just have.
Exactly, because we are so busy comparing ourselves to what everybody else has, we're not focused on what we have
It's
and
like,
what
oh,
we
that girl's
should do.
20 and she's married. Why am I not married? You know what I mean? Like, I should be married.
Yeah, like, oh, they're in a happy relationship, so I need to be in a happy relationship. And, you know, like...
Happy.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
On social media, they're happy.
Freaking,
you don't know.
And, yes, a freaking modern dating, bro. Like, it is such a... It's such a trap anymore because people want to meet cute, then they want to sleep together, then they want to move in together. Like, because that was the other thing about this past chick. Like, she was getting abrasive with me because I didn't want to move in with her within the next year or so. I'm like, no, like I want to be married first, and she didn't like that answer. You know.
Well, this is a weird thing that it's funny because I've never really had the opportunity to bring this up.
Mm-hmm.
But like the term dating. Okay,
Yes.
do you remember the term dating and what it used to mean? I remember my grandma saying things like, we were going steady." Okay, that means that they were exclusive. People even just used to use the word exclusive. We're exclusive. I'm only seeing that person. But if you're dating, that's a fucking verb. Okay, that means that you're actively dating, which
Mhm.
means that you're not exclusively dating someone. It's two different things. You know what I mean? So like if you're I'm dating. I'm single. I'm dating. I'm going on dates.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You're going on dates. That's where that term fucking came from. So it's like again, oh, he's talking to 5 girls. Okay, but how many of them is he sleeping with? How many
Mhm.
of them is he actually intimately involved with in some form or fashion? You know what I mean? Because I can have conversations with people all fucking day and not get hard.
Right.
It's real easy. You know, so it's like there's only a small percentage of people that's going to be the situation. So it's like you have to understand that in the general population, in most cases, that's not happening.
Yeah,
and if it is, you can usually see it, you know, and you have to weigh whether it's is this a trigger or a trauma? Is this me creating and manufacturing things on my own?
and that's what you know. Once again, this whole social media thing, because like we've made it so easy to have a bland B, C, D, E, F that we don't focus on A anymore.
Right.
You know, and you know, one of the things that really gets me, you know, which is a hot button for a lot of females, I guess, that have been interested in me, is I don't like a female that posts a lot of selfies or feels the need to. Now, I understand that it's a confidence boost. Okay, whatever, fine. But like, when you're with somebody, specifically when you're with me, what do you need a confidence boost from all of them for? Like,
Okay.
you're with me.
Right.
You know, I think you're beautiful. You know, now if they show me the selfie first and then post it, I'm a lot more understand. I'm like, okay, I saw it first.
It does make you feel different if it was like taken for you or if it
Mhm.
was shown to you and not like I gotta see it with the rest of the world, because again, you've established the situation to where like you're the first in line. You know what I mean? So like you're exclusive. So there's got to be some rights there. Now, like again, getting down to the motivation. So like you taking selfies and posting it every day because you like the validation, do you like the attention, or do you just like the way you look and you want to fucking make a memory or whatever. So it's like there's a lot of different reasons. Because I would say too, like, okay, well, man, maybe you're posting a selfie every day, which is nauseating. I don't need to see how different you look 12 hours apart. You know what I mean? Like, or even every outfit.
Yeah.
But I do think, well, we have this interesting, situation to where, like, in 30, 40, 50 years, you'll have this database somewhere of these photos of you when you're in your 19s, 20s, all this stuff, your experiences, so share when you feel the best or when you feel your best or when you're having a good moment or you're with good people. But it doesn't have to be an everyday thing, and like, if you're a fucking vlogger, be a vlogger. But I mean, like, the whole selfie, let me get 100 fucking likes on a picture of my ass, or, it's like, that is a little bit nauseating. If you want to live that kind of lifestyle, I would suggest either being with somebody else who's also a attention-seeking influencer, because again, some people want that, some people don't.
And the thing about it too, bro, is that like, they argue that like, yeah, that's my confidence boost or whatever. Okay, that's fine, but
they've used that as like that's their defense.
Yeah, like that's their validation. It's just like, okay, fine, but what do you think society has been doing for the last 2,000 years? Like, they didn't have social media to get their validation for if they're pretty or not. They listened to their significant other.
Think about before mirrors were invented.
Yeah. Like water reflection in Disney songs. You know what I'm saying?
Trust that I fucking look good and everybody else is looking at me, I must look fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like that's what I'm saying. Like social media is just like, modern dating is just so it's so hard anymore.
It's funny too because this is weird because it's like this timeline. I always look at the timeline of our fucking human behaviors and stuff too because okay, on social media, I want that. Oh, like it, love it, share it, do it all this. But not that long ago, it was like people were offended if like you're a pretty girl walking down the street and people were like, hey, I like that. Let me see that.
Yeah.
It's like those are real life likes and loves and shares and but you hated that.
Mm-hmm.
You're catcalling me, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like I'm just trying to walk to the store.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, now social media has created this flip thing where like now like you wake up, that's the first thing. I need that validation from everybody. Like, and it's weird because you might have somebody sitting right next to you, laying right next to you that would give you all of that, but you go out there to get it. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
I get it.
Like, you want the village and not the king of the castle. Like, why would you take the village, Now, it could be argued that, like, the powers that be are only as strong as the people make them feel. I get that. But, like, still, though, like, what's the point of being a king if you don't have any people? So that's how I look at it. When the people are gone and all you have left is me.
I was literally just in my head, dude. I was like, well, what do you do when all that goes away?
Exactly, because
there's no Wi-Fi for the next month. How are you getting your validation?
Exactly, because listen, bro, this is something that I just adopted this past year. Everybody in the world, the only thing that separates all of us is paper. It's the paper that says you're the boss. It's the paper that says you're the employee. It's the paper that says you're getting paid, or
how
money,
much paper,
yeah,
right?
or your money. So if a meteorite came to Earth and burned all that paper, what do we have between us but respect?
What is your real value?
Exactly.
As a human that's not monetized,
Exactly, because then social media. Like, let's just say what you just said. Like the digital market, everything digital just crashes. So now what are you going to do for your validation? All those hundreds of thousands of men that you had liking you, or even because men do this too, all your thousands of women and stuff like that,
yeah.
like your thousands of likes and stuff, it's gone. So now what do you have?
Right.
You had me. I stood next to you.
Physical, tangible, right
exactly.
there with constant feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is too is that I think that a big part of it is that when you're this person and you like the validation that you're getting from the outside and you've got someone right here that's willing to give you it all, this person has access that these people don't have. Okay, so like as you being the spouse of someone who's looking for that validation, you see the flaws. You see the days where she's not pretty. You see the day that she's looking rough or that she's bloated or that she's... So it's like, wow, these people don't know that side of them. So it's like those people are only looking at the best of the best. You know what I mean? So like you're getting 100% unadulterated love. You know what I mean? As opposed to it's like yeah, you look good, but yeah, you look better last week, or you look, you know what I mean? It's like, so you're seeing behind the curtain essentially, so you have a little bit of a different perspective, but it's like that to me should have more value because you've accepted that like this isn't an everyday thing. I know that like maybe one day a week you're going to look flawless, but that's not why I'm with you. I'm not with you because the 17 selfies you posted on Facebook. I actually like who you are and your mind and shit. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just I think a perception that like these people that have come up in dating with social media, knowing that I can get it right now. I don't have to even leave the house. I could be taking a selfie in the bathroom and I'm going right back to bed, and I can get 100 people to like how I look. You know what I mean? As opposed to like I have to get ready, get dressed, put my makeup on, go out of the house and get that validation from someone in the outside world, or even you. You see her wake up looking rough before she puts the makeup on. Don't look at me yet. You know what I mean? Like, wait, you're not gonna like me yet. Like, are you kidding me?
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? I've been looking at you for 3 hours and you were asleep. You know what I mean? Like you're drooling. I'm still here. You know what I mean? So it's like, why does any of that really matter? Because you have someone who accepts it all.
Well, it's because there's no patience and process anymore with like anything.
They want the instant gratification.
They want the instant gratification. It's the same thing, like, circling back to us being artists. Like, people just want to wake up and be famous and successful now, and they don't want to go through, because they don't realize that it's in that process that you get your power. That's why I am like, I mean, look at my latest script, American Vigilantes. You've seen it on social media, how it's winning all these awards and stuff like that.
Right.
That story I've been working on since I was 14. Oh, yeah, thank you. That story I've been working on since I was 14 years old.
Holy shit!
This actual concept that came into the final version, I've been working on since 2018.
Wow!
Because
just revising and
just revising, cooking, just like if it doesn't feel right, I don't stamp it done.
And I've talked to a number of people. She's put a book out. She's published a book and stuff. So it's like, boy, you don't really understand how much character development you really need, and to just understand like who each one of these people are and their backgrounds, where they come from. Because like my hard thing is like if I'm talking about somebody fictitious now, I mean this plays back to what you were saying about like pulling stories from real life. It's like, boy, like to create a narrative is very hard to understand. Again, like who's the antagonist, who's experiencing what, and keeping track of everybody. Because every time I'm sure you looked at it, you're like, shit, I could build out a little bit further, and I could develop these characters a little bit more. Maybe I don't understand these people enough. I need more information. So like I would only imagine like how fucking hard it would be to write. Because like I've started, and like I think I got a lot, and I'm like, well, wow, that's like not even the surface. I haven't even really got into like why we're here. So it's like using words is totally different. So kudos to anybody that's writing stories and writing books, and especially like taking the time to get published and stuff like that, because it's not easy. It does take a lot of time.
And you know what? I published a novel too back in 2015, 2017, and I actually pulled it from shelves because when I kept rereading it and kept rereading it, it was substance, or no, it was style over substance. Okay. And that's what people don't understand about writing, is that like if you don't have a message, if you don't have something to say, people aren't going to connect to it. It's back to the stick figure analogy. Right. Like anyone can draw a stick figure and call it art and put it out there and publish it, but what are they getting from that stick figure? Right. So that's why I gravitated towards writing scripts versus writing novels, because I feel like that, like, with a novel, you have to be really detailed. Like, Rhett is sitting next to his girl underneath the American flag, right, up in their basement. He's got that furrowed eyebrow as he reads through his notes before he starts talking with Adam. Whereas with the script, all I have to say is, basement, Rhett, his girl, the photographer, right, Adam, and then, dialogue. You know what I'm saying? Like, it allows me to be more communicative with my audience. You know what I'm saying? Because you still have to paint that picture and that setting for them, but people gravitate and connect a lot better with dialogue than they do paragraphs.
Yeah, I think that plays into just, again, who you are. That like you really care more about the message and the substance than just the surface level bullshit. It's
exactly.
Like like you can do a lot of theatrics and not really land anywhere. Where people are just, yeah, that was fun, but like, you want them to take something from it, So I think that like the screenwriting, that's an interesting way to where you don't have to get clogged up with a lot of the descriptive scenery. You know what I mean? Like you're really concerned with the narrative, and the characters and who they are.
Right, I see it more as I'm having a conversation with my audience. That's how I look at writing screenplays. Whereas a novel, I feel like I am lecturing my audience.
Okay.
You know, so like
It's more connected for sure too.
Exactly. I feel like screenwriting is more intimate, and like if you get it into the right hands, that director and the producer and those actors, they're going to do the same thing. It's just like we're just literally having conversations with the audience, you know, but we're doing it more from a visual standpoint.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like how I look at the process as a whole. That's why I would rather be a writer than an actor or a director or whatever.
Right. And I think that again, like as an artist, not everybody wants to be in the spotlight. You know what I mean? Like I said, sometimes like, you know, you're just the person that's like, listen, I know that I have a better head for this than what most people would do. They would just, you know, get the clickbait, the theatrics. It's like, you know, I really want to create something that has some good substance, because like when you have that good substance, you can find somebody that will then pair well with you and make it everything it should be visually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, like, you know, you could sit here with a script. I'm a photographer and someone who's been shooting film for my entire life. Like I can read your words and immediately be transformed into the visual. You know what I mean? Like I have an idea of exactly where it should be and how it should look and even what we should be wearing, things like that, you know, but it's all being built off of your words and your story and who those people are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like I like that you're on like the really the ground level of it, because again, you don't necessarily care to be in front of the camera. You could do it if you wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
But you care more about the message and really care about the writing the words and shit. You know, like that's.
Yeah, like I tell people all the time, if I can't describe a story with one word, then I'm not writing it.
Ooh, that's challenge. I mean, to really know like what's gonna land again, you know, and it's a stupid thing, you know, because it's social media. But I find myself too like, how do I title this fucking video? Because I mean, like we talked about a lot in a 3-hour session, but like, how do I really let the audience know without even clicking on the video what they're getting when they, you know what I mean? So it's like words just have so much power, and it's
They
like,
do.
you know, you see people that use clickbait titles or clickbait and all that, but like I'm not trying to lie to you or deceive you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give you the best idea of what we're all about, you know, and have that transcend to you and, you know, and speak to the audience. Because again, like I don't care if you know, don't understand what we're talking about, but if you're learning something or entertained by it, like then you're gaining something from it, you know. So like at the end of the day, like I just care about just putting out real shit, you know, like.
And you know what? It's interesting that you said that too, because that's another thing that like I know makes it hard for people to connect with artists, especially like writers and stuff, is because like, I mean, let's just put the money where the mouth is. We are professional liars, you know.
I've always said that about actors. You could never date an actor. How?
Yeah, because you don't know what their true emotions are. But like, right. I understand that. In fact, I just had someone tell me this past week that she feels when I start a sentence with "I won't lie," she feels that's just my way of validating the choice that I'm about to make.
No.
And I'm just like, that's not it at all. Like, what are you talking about?
It's a dangerous way to live.
Like, and I actually didn't. Honestly, I didn't even entertain that conversation. I just said, okay, like, you know, I am.
Well, it's like if you look at things like that, then you're fucked, because then everything that everybody says is a lie. You know
Exactly.
What I mean? If I tell you like, oh, I promise you I'll be there, like, well, did you say you promised because you're really not going to be there?
No, like
what the fuck? Why would I go that far?
I tell people that I'm not going to lie and stuff like that, not to validate my bad choices if it is a bad choice or whatever. I do that because I legitimately care about communication. Because like, if you communicate, communication leads to trust. Trust leads to respect. Respect leads to a safe space. You don't want to be associated with anybody that you don't feel safe around.
Right.
You know, that's something that even I had to learn even more in therapy, as to why, you know, latest Chica probably flipped out the way she did about that night. She didn't feel safe around me.
Right.
You know, and I get that, you know, or even with my placeholder, you know, maybe something happened during that year and some odd months that made her not feel safe anymore. You know, I mean, I won't know that because we don't talk and
Right.
whatever. That's her prerogative. But like, freaking, we as humans don't like to go where it's not safe. You know, we like to be in that comfort zone or
Right.
whatever. So that comfort zone starts with communication. So if you sit here and you ask me, how do I feel about your vest that you're wearing right now? I'm going to be like, I like it, you know. I mean, I wouldn't have done a leather vest, but like it fits you though.
Right.
It fits your body. It fits your stash that you got going on, stuff like that. Like, you know, that's me. That's me just communicating with
Right.
you versus me just being like, versus me being like, oh, I'm not going to comment. You know, because then that's going to start turning wheels in your head.
Like, well, why not?
No,
What's
yeah,
wrong with it?
What's wrong? What's wrong with my vest? You know what I'm saying? Like, freaking, and you know, and then I'm in the black hole again because now I'm not commenting. It's like, you don't care about me, do you?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
It's such a stupid dance of miscommunication. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, like you need to be able to feel free and safe to be able to express yourself regardless if it's what somebody wants to hear or not.
Mm-hmm.
But they also at the same time have to be able to receive positive or negative feedback and take it as it is. It's like, you know, so you both, I mean, everybody has to be on the same page. It's like, okay, I've received what you're telling me and maybe I disagree with it, but that's fine. I mean, I'm not forcing you to wear this leather vest that you don't like. It's like
it's right back to social media, bro. Because they just had 100 people tell them that they're right, but you're the one person that told them they're wrong, and it's just like, oh, how dare you?
And it can go the other way too. Imagine if you post that selfie and everybody's like, "Oh my god,
That's
5 o'clock shadow." What? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it could turn on you too, to where like if that's really where you receive your validation, they can turn on you real quick. You know what I mean? Thursday's selfie was a fucking nightmare. Did you see that? Unfollow. Never mind.
Yeah.
Did you steer with the light on?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like,
that's
you know,
why girls are so crazy. It takes 79 selfies to get that one, and they still won't show it to you. But then later on, they'll post it because they need something. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's such a fucking weird dance to where if you just get your head out of your ass and just take people on what they're showing you and giving you, it's like, boy, we'd be a lot happier.
We really would.
I want to ask you, because it's funny. See, you might have started out wanting to maybe be an actor, thinking you were gonna. Have you ever done like any stage or theater or anything like that? Okay.
Yeah.
So you feel now more comfortable behind the scenes? You feel like you would rather write the characters and cast?
I feel like I'm more in tune with my emotions, and I'm more in tune with the story when I'm writing it versus interpreting something else that somebody wrote.
Well, it's funny, and it all goes back. We're artists. So it's unfortunately, like we said, this is an inescapable fucking reality.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting too, especially because you use words to where, like, if somebody's reading a story, they're like, "Fuck, is that really how he feels?" Like, you might just be, you know what I mean, taking, you know, things from a different situation. It might not even be your situation, but people could read that and think, "Oh, wow, that's how he really feels. That's who he really is. That's the kind of person he is." It's like, no, I'm just writing a story, and these are characters, and you know, yeah, there might be similarities between what we're going through and what I wrote, but they are separate, and they are, you know what I mean, like. So it's weird, you know. Like, I mean, I would imagine like a songwriter. You know, I go through a nasty breakup, and then I go and write a song. Of course, they're gonna, oh, it's about me. They're like, well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's a collective of what I've been through. You're the tail end of it, but it's like,
well, I think that like sometimes it does start out that way. Like sometimes it does start out that you're venting about that person or that experience or something. But like as the story evolves and the characters evolve, it becomes more. It goes from being a vent session to like almost a, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say a warning, or maybe kind of, yes, a herald, you know, to this experience. Because like I'll tell it to you this way, like American Vigilantes, it focuses on two protagonists that experienced a similar situation when they were kids, or they're involved in the same situation when they were kids. It was a school shooting, and they both are directly involved with the school shooter. One's kidnapped by him, and the other one tries to fight him.
wow.
And then when they get older, the one that tries to fight him becomes an MMA fighter, and the one that was kidnapped by him becomes a superhero.
Wow.
And then, you know, eventually their worlds collided, and no spoilers. But like the point of the story is we all handle trauma differently. You have your violent one who is the MMA fighter. He's just projecting towards the world. And then you have your one that's just fighting, who's the superhero, who's trying to use his trauma to help the world.
Right.
You know, so no one else experiences what he experienced. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Man, and see that follows such a similarity again, just to who you are, what you've been through. It's like, man, like two people could experience the same things, but you can choose. I mean, it's stereotypical or whatever cliche, but it's like you have a path. I mean, you really have the option to choose whether you're going to lean into all of that trauma and kind of become an embodiment of that, or you're going to use all of that pain to teach yourself how to be, essentially the advocate for the other side, like to fight for justice.
That's exactly what it is. Because the characters Eden and Kobe, they're two different sides of me, and it started out with me being like, this is, me venting. I've seen some bad things, and it has, ate at me all my life. But now, as the story went on and as it evolved, it went from being like, poor me to I don't want anyone else to experience this. So here's kind of like the caricatures of the experiences I went through.
Interesting, man. That's a really, really, really good shit, man. Like, where can we find this? Where is it available? Can we get it?
I actually, it's funny you said that because I almost sent you a copy of American Vigilantes so you could read it before this podcast, so we could have like dissected it. But maybe that's for a future podcast.
I was gonna say, I mean, don't think for a second that we're only gonna do one of these, because I mean, realistically, I don't think that there's even a way that we could cover everything that we could talk about.
Oh, not at all.
It's just an ever evolving thing. So I did see this, which was kind of out of left field. I don't know if maybe I just missed it, but you do have an interest in law enforcement and things of that nature. So you just recently got clearances or certifications for like polygraph.
All right, so yes, this is something that I've actually kept on the low. I've only told a couple people, so this is going to be the big, debut, I guess, or whatever. But yeah, back in I guess February, I applied for the state police, and I was invited to take the test. And
how does that process work? What do you mean you're like?
So you gotta apply, and if they accept your application, you have to take the written exam. If you pass the written exam, then you have to take the pre-polygraph exam. And then if you get past the pre-polygraph exam, then you take the polygraph. And then from the polygraph, you have to do your fitness exam. And then after that, I'm not sure what it is, but like pretty much after the fitness exam, you're in.
Okay.
So like
they should do that fitness thing first.
Yeah, yeah, bro. Some of the people, some of the people that I've seen, I'm just like, I don't want to be judgmental, but no, like, so like I applied and I got invited to take the written exam, and I passed the written exam. I took my pre-polygraph exam the other day. I don't have the results back from that.
Now, with that exam, did they give you any indication of what you should know, what you should study?
I mean, yeah, kind of
common sense.
It was like, yeah, they kind of had this, and I can't talk too much about it for legal reasons, but yeah, they gave me a notebook that had some things in it.
Okay.
But I not long before I took the state police exam, I took the TSA exam to be a transport security agent.
Oh, okay.
And honestly, the TSA exam was harder than the state police exam, and I passed the TSA one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the TSA one has to do with metrics. Because when you're helping people, load onto a plane, or you're checking security or whatever, you have to be able to tell if a box looks unbalanced, or if a box or the suitcase is holding something more than just clothes or whatever.
Okay.
So like that one was hard. And that one was more aggressively timed, and I passed that one.
Oh, you have a time limit to complete it? Like, it's the whole thing?
Yeah. So the TSA one, I passed. I passed the state police one. And then just recently, I took my ASVAB test because a lady added me on Facebook.
Is that military?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's a military recruiter, and she's like, "You look fit enough to be in the military." I'm like, "I'm 35 years old and have nightmares." I'm just like, I don't think you want me in the military.
You look like you're in good enough shape to die for our country.
Yeah. So, but I was like, you know what? I'll try it. Like, why not? So.
And the thing is, these things, do they expire? Do they run out?
What do you mean?
Like, so you take the ASVAB, you pass that. Does that hold true? Like, if you decided not to enter the military for 10 years, do you have to retake that? Do you have to...
That one, I don't know.
I wondered, like, how often does that get updated? How often are they changing? Like, all that stuff.
I think it depends on the branch that you're going for. Like, right now, I'm doing the Army Reserves. I want to do the Army Reserves. And so I took my ASVAB, and I passed it, which I didn't think I would because I am terrible at math. I graduated high school without algebra.
There's a math. I wouldn't even think there'd be math in there.
Oh, it's geometry.
Really?
So yeah, I was scared, but I passed it, and actually, surprisingly enough, the department I did the best in was mechanics, which requires geometry.
Wow.
So I passed with a high enough
Smarter
score.
than you think?
Yeah, I guess I am, and I passed with a high enough score that I can get any job in the military except for like maybe a dozen or three or something like that. So like I'm pretty happy with that.
That's got to feel good, dude. Because again, whenever you're stepping into the unknown, it's like a lot of these things. It's not stuff that you were like planning at all. You know what I mean, a lot of this stuff is like just kind of coming day to day, or newfound interests. And I think that being an artist makes you so different in the way that like you're so capable to do just about anything. Like I said, like I mean, it wouldn't matter what it would be, any career, and even if it sounds like something far fetched or challenging, it's like when you have the ability to look at something and completely ignore being afraid or not knowing what the result will be, or even just like you could almost even have like a 90% chance of certainty that it's going to fail or not work out. As an artist, you're like, that didn't even fucking bother me. I mean, like, I'll go into this knowing that I probably will fail and still go into it knowing that even if I fail, I'm going to learn something from it. I might have realized, hey, that maybe that thing wasn't for me after all. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, boy, you're just so fully equipped to be able to just like kind of like I said, it doesn't matter where you're at or who you're around or what the environment is. You can just adapt.
Once again, that's that. Turn negatives into positives. Like.
Or normally people would be afraid and fearful.
Right, because I look at it as I don't lose, I win or I learn.
That's genius. That is genius. There's no such thing as losing with the right state of mind.
No, so like I'll literally try anything, and I know that's kind of a slight contradiction because of what I just went on about like, the dating thing, like freaking I'm like, so scared to get back into that right now.
But that's not a loss either. That's understanding what you're capable of and just being smart. Because again, why would you get involved with someone if you're not even feeling 100% yourself? Because I've always said, like, if I don't have it in me, if I can't love myself, how can I love somebody else, basically? And it's like, if I'm feeling like, especially as an artist, like you said about it, I meant to touch on it also, because, like, we're out there all the time expressing. But, boy, you can notice whenever we've hit, like, a down point, because it's just, like, a silence. Yeah. Nobody will hear from you. Nobody will see anything. Like, it's like, boy, they usually, post artwork or post something inspirational. They're motivating other people. But, boy, I haven't seen anything in a couple days. They are, It's like, well, sometimes you have to fucking push yourself completely away from everybody and completely disconnect, put together all the pieces again, and just get a better understanding. And that's where, like, we were talking about, like, as an artist, you have this, like, beer goggles on with the world, is that you see everything, it's beautiful potential, but sometimes it gets so bad that you're, like, looking at the reality of things like, oh, shit, the world is really great, and people do sometimes just take advantage of and manipulate, it's like, that is the truth. And I live in, like, a weird state of existence above all of that, and I'm so lucky to do that, because, like, sometimes some people just bring you right back down to reality, and it's like,
that's why it is so important for you to pay attention to the people that you actually let in, and
yourself,
and yourself.
Give yourself enough self-care.
And that's and you know what, I can say right now authoritatively, the number one person that has really kept me centered through everything is my daughter Felicity, and like this girl is 10 years of sass if I ever seen it. Like, we were having a conversation one day, and I told her, I'm just like, I liked you a lot better when all you did was poop, pee, cry, and sleep, and didn't talk. And she looked at me with the most serious face ever and goes, you should have made better life choices then. And I couldn't even get mad at her, because I was just like, if she's like this with me, she's going to be like this with the boys. So you know what? Keep that sass, girl.
That's amazing. And you have to immediately be like, that's my child.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly where I would have said to somebody else bitching about this thing. You know what I mean? Like, just right back.
Yes,
like,
and that's the thing, bro. Like, freaking everything you do, when you become a parent, everything you do is going to come back on the child. And so, like, I have made some terrible mistakes, I won't lie, since she was born. But, like, she's to the age now where I can explain things and she can understand them, right, and she wants to help. You know, she wants to help in any way that she can. And sometimes her helping me is just accepting that dad can't make it today.
Right.
Or, you know, I'm not going to see my dad for a couple days. You know, or sometimes she will just call me just to say hi. She'll be like, I just wanted to say hi. And I'm like, okay, how's your day, baby? She'll be like, good, I got to go. Click. And I'm just like, that little hi, though, that split 30 seconds, that's all I needed to hear. She's safe. She is healthy. She is whatever.
And happy, you know,
and
and thinking
happy,
of you,
yes.
which is like, again, you know, unfortunately, you know, it's a different situation for you because, you know, you're giving her something that you didn't have. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
So the fact that you are respectful enough to say, hey, listen, there's going to be days where just I'm not emotionally available or I'm not able to be around just because I don't want to, you know what I mean? I don't want to fuck up basically or something. It's like, you know, so like sometimes it's better, you know, give me my time to heal and be myself. Because right now, I don't want you to see me in some light that, you know, it's just you're out of character or something.
And that's the thing I hate about most of parenthood nowadays is they think that you have to always be buying your kids something or you always have to be there in person to be a good parent. And I'm like, no, sometimes being a good parent is telling them no because you know you're not right. You know?
You don't always have to be your best self because they will accept it if you just make them understand or help them understand.
Right, because I don't distance when I get in those moods where like I'm not mentally well, whatever. I don't distance from Felicity to not explain it. Like I will distance from her, and then when I see her next, I'll be like, okay, this is what was going on with me, and I want you to know that it's okay for me to feel like that. Right. Like if you feel these emotions, it is okay for you to feel like this, and if you need to take a break, take a break.
Yeah, and communication is the biggest tool we have as far as power and being able to like bridge new ground. It's like, man, like if you just come to me and say, hey, you know what, I just need a day. Just, you know what I mean, just let me alone for a day, you know, like, and you say, if that's really what you need, okay. I mean, like, that's nothing because we've got the rest of our lives, or we've got, you know what I mean, we've got everything ahead of us. It's like one day is not going to derail us in any way if that's what you really need to be okay. You know what I mean? Like tomorrow's another day. You know?
Exactly, and I feel like, especially in today's like grind culture, like we do not understand what it is to take a break anymore because we feel like because again, social media always comparing. They have a yacht. I need a yacht. I need 3 jobs so I can get that yacht. And like freaking, I'm experiencing.
Well, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, okay, I'm sorry. I'm experiencing it with my job right now. Like freaking, you always have to say yes, you know. And it's just like, no, I don't. Because, like, we have just as much of a responsibility as adults to take a break and let ourselves reset as we do to work and grind and all that stuff, you know? Because, I mean, I understand there's other people out there, you know, somebody out there is working just as hard as you or they're still working. Okay, that's great that they're going and I'm resting, but here's how I look at it. When we get to the finish line, they're going to be too exhausted to enjoy what they just worked for. I took my breaks. I'm not walking or crawling past that finish line. I'm running past it because I am rested. Yeah. You know, tortoise and the rabbit. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and I think that's a good analogy just because I think that the more people understand that, like, none of us are in competition with each other. You know what I mean? It's like, if anything, the only person you're really in competition with is yourself.
Yep.
And it's something that I've understood at a very, very young age. It's like, listen, like my biggest adversary, my biggest challenge is getting past my own bullshit, you know, and accepting myself for who I am and understanding that, like, I'm very different from everybody and I'm not going to fit in a lot of places, but that's actually what makes me who I am. And that's actually my biggest asset at the same time. So it's like, if I'm always and forever only in competition with myself, no matter what, I'm always getting better. I'm always reinvesting in myself and making sure that I'm good. Because again, everybody else that might benefit from the way that I express myself or the art that I give somebody or the positive messages that I put out there, I have to be okay to be able to do that. So I know that there's a lot of people that ride on my mental state, you know, I mean, or dependent on me being that positive reinforcement. And I'm sure you feel that way too, to where like maybe in a lot of circles, you're the guy that people know, hey, he's going to tell me that it's all right. Shit happens. life's tough, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to be all right, you know, because so many people don't have that. And, like, whenever the one guy that's the positive force in everybody else's day is not okay, everybody else is like, well, what the fuck? You know, like, oh, he must have been lying the whole time.
Exactly. And
it's like, dude, I'm not going to get it 7 days a week, brother. I got to be, you know.
And that's what's so hard about it, bro. That's what's so hard about being the positive one 90% of the time. Because, like, on that 10% that you're not, you're toxic.
Dude, the magnifying glass is huge.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, well, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
It's like normal shit, dude. Like, the same shit that bothers you, I just have a better way of processing it 7 days a week.
Exactly.
You know, I have a better perspective on it. And that's not to say that I'm better than you in any way, but I've just had a different experience to where sometimes when, again, two sides to every coin. Something bad happens. Did you learn from it or did you fucking fall? You know, because again, if you're the person that's always negative, always down in the dumps, it's like, well, you know what I mean? Like, no matter what I say or do is gonna fix it because you're battling yourself. You know what I mean? So it's like, stop looking for other people to build you up and find out what it really is in your core that's really making you fucking miserable.
Yeah,
you know?
once again, trauma llamas. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Are you holding on to it or are you trying to fucking release it?
Exactly. And, you know, the other thing about them, too, that just, like, you know, absolutely gets under my skin is that, like, you know, they will say that they don't need you, or they'll say that they don't like you, or whatever the case may be, but yet it's my actions that you are using to build yourself up. So do you really not need me? You know what I'm saying? Now, you can either use my actions to help yourself grow, or you can use my actions to help help yourself understand me better, or you can use my actions to, like, you know, once again validate yourself or stay in your bubble.
Further fuel the trauma almost.
Exactly.
Again, like if I sit here long enough and watch you, I'm like, well, you know what? I don't like the way he fucking takes a drink. You know, I knew somebody that drank just like that, and he was a piece of shit. You know, it's like, but why would I even go? I mean, like, I'm just not in that headspace, and I get that, you know, experiences, and I like that, again, looking from the outside in, it's like, oh, well, yeah, it's easy for you to be positive. You've got a business, and you've got this, and you've got a career, and you got. It's like, well, you know, I didn't always have that, you know, and I can guarantee you that if you would have known me or, you know, been looking at my social media whenever I didn't have anything, didn't have a place to live, was living in my fucking truck and scrapping pop cans to fucking eat, I was still the most positive person in the room and still the most motivated to get up and make something happen, even if I didn't physically enjoy what I was doing. I don't care if I'm stocking shelves or something miserable and mundane, like, I hate this job, where does that get you? You know what I mean? Like, I'm walking in here every day just hoping that I have a good interaction or I see something funny or amusing. It's like, you got to be open to that to receive it, you know? And, like, it's weird because if you have that dark cloud over you and you're looking at everything through that dark lens, your environment's never going to change. Always going to be gray and dark, you know?
Well, that's the other thing. You want to talk about dark cloud. Dark clouds produce rain, right? And we need rain to grow. So, like, stop.
Man, the allergies, it just keeps coming.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, man.
Too.
So stop looking at that dark cloud as a burden and freaking be receptive to the rain, because the rain's going to end.
Let it water your fucking plants.
Exactly. Let it help you grow. You know what I'm saying? And that, I just don't think people look at that way anymore, you know? Like, they see a dark cloud as like, oh God, why me? You know, or you know, and I was explaining this to a lady yesterday that I was working with, and I told her, because, you know, she was telling me this, that, and the third, like, this person did this to me, this person did this to me, this is why I'm like this is why I'm like this. I'm like, okay, that person did that to you, but how did you react? You know, because we are a reflection of our choices. You know, if someone comes up to me and holds a gun to my head and says, like, you know, pick purple or pink, you know, and I could either pick purple, I could either pick pink, or I could not pick at all, you know, but, like, it's on me in that moment to make the choice. You know, how am I going to react to this? And I just think that a lot of people, they don't see it that way. They just think that, like, you know, and even with work, I love it. I love when people complain about work and stuff like that, because I look at them and I'm just like, the door's right there.
Yeah, right.
You know, and they're just like, oh, I need this job. You don't need it. You're picking it because it is easier to earn a paycheck than it is to go out there and use the government or borrow from friends or whatever. Nobody has to work. You are choosing to work, for whether it's for your daughter or for your car or for your house or for whatever the reason. you have a reason to be here right now.
And those are good reasons. I mean, like,
Mhm.
again, if you actually just even deep-seated hate the task, you should have some pride in the reason that you're doing that for good reasons. You know, so it's like, even so, like, last place I want to be some days is the shop doing a tattoo. But I know at the end of the day, whenever I go in there and do that, boy, do I feel good. Like, you know, the next day and the next day, it's like, you know, because again, it's just like working out. Boy, I could lay in bed and be lazy, and that's easy, and it feels good. But whenever I force myself to get out of bed and do it when I don't want to, the results, I'm like, boy, that just, you know, this is why I do it. You know, because like you lean into that resistance. You know, it's challenging. It's not going to be ideal, but you're a better person. You're a stronger person. You know, you're all around growing, you know, by leaning into that resistance, you know, and that's where, like, you know, if anything, I've always said is this is dangerous, but if you're afraid of something or something terrifies you, that's almost like your biggest indication that you should do it. You know what I mean? Like anything that, like, I ride BMX, and it's like, I look at things on a daily, and in tattooing too. Granted, I've been doing it for long enough now that, like, sure, I could go into autopilot and just do it, but I force myself to do things that I'm like, 5 minutes before I'm about to do it, I'm fucking having a borderline panic attack. I'm like, am I going to do this and do a good job? Am I going to fail? Is it going to fucking blow up my face? Am I going to get hurt? Like, so it's like, I am fearful a lot of times, but on the surface, you don't know that because I'm so tuned into facing my fears and leaning into the challenge, because I know on the other side of that, boy, is utopia. You know, like, you really know that, like, boy, if you stay in your comfort zone, sure, it might feel good right now, but boy, you're going to feel like a sure waste later on, you know, and you're going to have a lot of regrets. But if you fucking lean into that challenge and step into the unknown, into the darkness, and do things that are hard and scary, you're invincible. You know, literally, you get to this point where, like, what the fuck could hurt me now? Because I've done everything that scared me and made me fucking fearful. It's like, what can you do to me? You know, like.
And everything you said right there. Oops.
You're good.
Everything you
black
said
on
right
black
there.
crime.
Yeah, man, fuck you.
I meant to tell you how good. I meant to ask you where you tan. Actually, you have a really good tan.
No. I actually don't tan. I just look this good, you know, all the time. Well, actually, you know what? There was one summer where I did get a little tanner, and I always squint when I get a little tanner. So, like, I'll have like a line like right here.
You're like the whole time trying to keep your forehead straight.
Yeah, and like my freaking buddies I was working with, they would always every time be like, I'm just like, go away, you know. Like,
and this goes right into that. See, this is in a normal case. Oh, I would never say that to a black man. I'd be afraid to say that. What if I hurt his feelings or offended him? It's like, well, I think that the way that I'm saying it, I think that you can tell that I'm not being me. I'm being, you know, I'm having a good time, and I'm just.
Oh no, dude!
You know,
like I don't like that. This is definitely a whole nother subject for a whole nother day. But like racism, it doesn't bother me anymore. Like I could tell when you're being ignorant and when you're joking. You know what I'm saying?
And it goes back to, like, words have power, but only enough power that only the power that you give them. Essentially, you know, I mean, it's
reaction,
like,
exactly.
Yeah. And well, I think that again we're led to believe that there's this big unspoken thing happening, and it's like, realistically, I mean, like, I'm around people all the time, and like, I don't even know if I've met one real racist. I mean, like, to be honest, I mean, somebody that, like, because to me, racism, like, I don't like you for the only reason of your color or your race or whatever. It's like, I don't know if I've really ever, like, experienced that. Maybe like my grandpa, but even that, I've seen him fucking talk to black people. Like, are you just touting out some shit that you were told whenever you were a kid from your dad?
Exactly.
Because you really, at your core, don't feel that way, because you're sitting there having a conversation with a man of color, and you're not. You know what I mean? So it's like, realistically, I think that we're just led to believe that this is happening, but truly, I mean, again, I am experiencing a different experience. Yeah, I have a different experience than you. Maybe I'm just not involved. You know, I'm just not experiencing it. But like, in most cases, and it comes down to, there's not really a whole lot of hatred, you know, but, you know, maybe I'm just white and fucking, you know, stupid, you know, like.
I am too. So, you
know, like, do you have a lot of people that really, like, mistreat you because of that? I mean, like, it's like.
No, not like anymore. But when I was in high school, yeah, I got. You know, the thing about it is that, like I said, I could peel this back for days. But like, I'm just to summarize it real quick. I feel like that a lot of the berating and bullying, and even just like some of the things that I was told in high school, like, you know, because the kids would get a kick out of when I did something bad. You
Oh,
know,
really?
they would tell me to do something bad because they knew I would do it for acceptance, and they would get a kick out of it. And sometimes I wonder if that was projected racism. You know, like I mean, and it's a valid wonder because you know, they watched MTV and they know who Eminem is, and they know, and you know who Tupac is, and all of a sudden they think they know what it is to be black. You know, because something I heard a lot, and I still hear here and there, is "You are the whitest black man I ever knew." Or ever know, and especially to the kids in high school, I'd be like, "When was the last time you spent a month in Philadelphia?"
Right.
You know, like, you know, I live here in the sticks in your home where you were raised, but you have never been where I was raised.
Right.
You know, so like, but like, you know, again, coming out of the city and just looking for that acceptance, you want me to you want me to go hit that kid? Yeah, I'll go hit that kid. You want me to you know, make a mess in the cafeteria? I'll make a mess in the cafeteria. You know, damn detention, damn suspension. Like, these kids are laughing. You know, like, this is cool, but like, you know, sometimes I sit there and I wonder. I'm just like, yeah, I wonder if there was like there had to be something afoot. You know what I'm saying? More to it.
I mean, it's hard not to like. I mean, obviously, you wouldn't have ever thought that even in the moment, you know, because again, at that age, you're just, you know, you're just trying to be part of the fucking crew. You probably didn't even think about that, you know. But I think it really comes back to just like you're almost painted into that box. Like, well, did they have some ulterior motive, or like, because I mean, that obviously happens, you know, to white kids, brown kids, yellow kids. It's like, so it's like we all feel that way whenever we're kids. It's like, man, I just want to be liked. I'll essentially do anything, you know. Like I have this traumatizing fucking memory, and it probably would only have been like, it might have been like second grade. It might even been before second grade, but that's how traumatizing it was. There was this fucking girl. Oh my god, I could remember her face, like it's like burnt in my head.
Mm.
And it's like, yeah, I want to be fucking part of the crew. I want to be liked and all this stuff. Like, she was trying to get me to stick my finger in this. Like, you remember, like the old classrooms that have the paper cutters.
Yeah.
She was, you know, trying to coax everybody to get, you know, put their finger in there, put your finger in there. And like, I almost like, you know, everybody else is like, oh no, I ain't doing that. You're not. Da, da, da. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why did everybody else say that this wasn't a good idea? For a second, like, I just like, right in, didn't even think about the potential. Like, this girl could cut my finger off for all I know, you know. But it's like just one of those things. I just like, oh yeah, I'll do that. Everybody else doesn't want to do it. They're afraid to do it. I'll do it. I'm not afraid. You know, it's like I've been that fucking way my whole life. Like, oh, everybody else is scared. Let me at it. You know, like,
and the thing about that is they take advantage of your innocence, of your naiveness. You know what I'm saying? Because they know all you're looking for is acceptance. They know that. So it's just like, okay, how could I expose this person's vulnerability for my entertainment?
or I want to do this, but I'm afraid I'll get somebody else to do it because I'm afraid of getting in trouble. I'm afraid of looking like a fool, or I'm afraid of being laughed at. So if I can get this kid over here, is just begging for someone to talk to him. You know, it's like, you know, especially as like, you know, at that point too, you might not even realize like you don't label yourself as an artist, but again, you're like this weird person where like you want just anybody to talk to you so that you can express what you're thinking and feeling, but you're also at the same time a little bit of an introvert. You're like,
Yeah.
oh God, I don't fit in anywhere. I don't feel normal anywhere. So like I have to, you know, project all of this stuff and find people that feel the same way. So it's like it's a really weird fucking thing to be in. And like I talk about it all the time where like again, forcing yourself to be out of your comfort zone is something I do every day because I'm a natural introvert. I could literally lock myself in a room by myself, completely disconnected from anybody, and I'd be completely content because all of my creative genius and fun is all in here. I could be sitting here cracking jokes to myself and be laughing all day. Like I don't really need anybody, you know, and that's a dangerous place to be in. But at the same time, I know I have to put myself out there to really be who I want to be because I am in my best light when I'm expressing and I'm jiving with other people and we're sharing ideas and energy, you know. So it's like I have to lean into that. It would be so easy to stay at home because I'm content by myself. I can create all day. I don't need validation from anybody. But I force myself out there and to do these other things because I know that there might be a large percentage of people that would benefit from me being out in the world and expressing this positivity or negativity, even like I said, because you can talk about something negative, but because who you are, it comes out as a positive. It's like, so like I can talk about murder and all kinds of terrible things, but when you hear me speak about it, you're like, you know what, you're right. I'm actually learning something. I'm not offended. I'm not disgusted. I'm not, you know, like you have a way of projecting just about anything into a positive light and making it a usable, tangible piece of something for other people. So you have to force yourself out there because you know that you can provide other people with things, and it's almost selfish to keep that all to yourself.
And I think that, like, circling back to before the ADHD moment happened, with this microphone, with what you were saying about, like,
Almost
us
had another
artists, we are long-term thinkers. So, like, because we appreciate the process and we have that patience. So I think that, like, that's another reason why it's so hard for people in today's generation to connect with us, because she kind of just touched on it a little bit, with how everybody gets offended so easily because you get on social media and you can literally say what you want and not have to face any consequences. Or what are you going to do? Block me? Oh, boo hoo,
Right.
But, like, when we're in person or when we're actually trying to make an actual human connection, it's scary. Like, anxiety and depression has never been at the high that it is right now. And it's because
I
we can
believe that.
we can hide behind social media. We can hide behind cell phones,
It is hiding. It really is.
and like, we artists, though, we look at things in the long run. Like, I always ask myself when it comes to any sort of decision, any sort of big decision, I'm like, do I want this or do I don't? There's no gray area. There's no
Right.
maybe. And to figure that out, I'm just like, what's going to matter in 5 years? And, I started thinking like that because, I ain't going to lie, back in 2020, going into 2021, I attempted, and when it failed, I was, thinking about trying it again. But then I was just like, in 5 years, I don't want my friends to beat themselves up because they weren't here for me. I don't want my daughter being like, why wasn't I good enough for dad to try? And, I don't want somebody that's out there that needs to hear my words to end up here because I decided to think of me before, leading into my purpose in this life. So I stopped and I started focusing more on my screenwriting, and that was the first year that I won an award for a screenwriting for a script. It was a short script. It's called Coliseum, and it's about our personal inner battles. It's about two basketball players that have to, like, kind of come to grips with their past and stuff like that in order to move on to be better basketball players. Um, and that year, was the first year that I won. I won in Rome, Tokyo, freaking New York, and I think LA,
Wow.
all within the span of a month. You know what I'm saying? Once I put that script out there,
Man, that had to feel so weird and good at the same time.
it's still surreal, bro. Well, like, when I get these emails saying, the first words on these emails is always judging status has changed,
Oh,
and
wow.
sometimes it could be you're not accepted.
Oh, they could drop you,
Oh yeah,
right?
yep. So, like, every time I get that email, I'm always just like, ooh,
Yeah.
But, like, when it says judge's status has changed for Coliseum or American Vigilantes, and I expand it, and the first word is congratulations, I was just like, what, me?
That's
Like,
wild,
there has to
man.
be another Adam Crawford out there,
Right.
because there actually is another Black Adam Crawford out there. He added me on Facebook one day,
Wow.
and he's from Texas, and he added me on Facebook, and he's just like, bro, I thought I was the only one. I'm like,
That's
what you talking
hilarious.
about? And he's like, my name is Adam Crawford, and I was just sitting here. Is there another there named Adam Crawford? So I looked you up, and there you are. And I was like, I mean, okay, we can be friends. I don't think we'll
That's
ever meet, but
hilarious.
yeah, man. So, like, it's such a
I didn't even realize that you do have an exceptionally white name.
well, you're not wrong. And I don't know if you saw my one Facebook post, but I am going to change back to my birth name, which was Percy.
Really?
Yes.
No shit. That's a cool fucking name.
Yeah, I'm actually, and it's because my dad's name was Percy. My older brother's name was Percy. He just passed a couple weeks ago.
You're kidding me.
So the name is kind of like dead for now, but I want to bring it back into our family
Wow.
because, I'm doing this stuff with the state cops, I'm doing this stuff with the military, I'm doing this stuff with writing. I want to make Percy rememberable in our family,
Yeah.
because they just kind of stayed in Philadelphia and stayed in their comfort zone. But, I'm out here, trying to make a name for myself, my daughter, and everything like that.
Yeah,
So
legacy of some sort.
exactly. So I want to bring Percy back, and plus that, like, there's again, more conversations for another time. But I feel like that there's a disassociation there between Percy and Adam. Like, when I changed my name to Adam, it was once again me trying to fit in with my culture. Because Adam in high school, all the Adams were ladies' men. All the Adams were jocks, and everybody
Oh,
liked them.
and I would imagine too, it's like it's one of those things where it's like it's not gonna stand out. It's kind of like right in the radar where you're like with everybody else. It's a normal name. You know what I mean? As opposed to if you were a Percy, you're the only fucking Percy around, I would imagine, to where you'd be. Because trust me, I'm a Rhett.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, oh my god, my whole entire life I've been called Rent, Brent, Brat, Rat, Rent. It's like, I mean, I just stopped correcting people after a while because it's like, it's a weird fucking name. Whatever you want to call me is fine.
And I also think it's because, like, we put labels to our traumas and our experiences. So I think Percy, I associated with everything I went through in Philadelphia and foster care and stuff like that. And Adam is someone that I was, I just feel like I've been spending all these years, because I changed my name when I was 12. So it's been about 20 years. So I think I've been spending these last 20 years chasing who I think I should be and who other people perceive me to be, instead of just being who I actually am. I am Percy. I am that Philadelphia trauma. I am that foster care trauma, and I am capable of changing it. I don't need to change the name to change the meaning behind it, and it's just time to do it.
Well, and it's like, again, another little cliche thing, but it's like that name alone, it's all in what you make it. Because, again, it could be meaningless. It could be a link to your traumatic past. You could want to hide that and keep that from anybody knowing, and which would be easy to do. Just a different lifetime, you know what I mean? But the more that you accept that that is also a part of you, and that's also probably one of the biggest attributing factors to who you are, other than, obviously, you're an artist. I feel like that's just in your DNA. But as far as your perspective and your perception on things and how you interact with people, I think that, coming from that place, I think probably gives you, like, just, again, more strength, a heightened perspective, to where, again, you might encounter someone tomorrow that was a foster kid and has gone through life with that being their identity, and then in turn never feeling accepted by anybody because they were given up from the very first day they were born. They were given up. So it's like, a lot of people deal with that, why would they give me up? Am I not good enough? It's like, so it's like you have, a lot more strength to where you can really change somebody else's trajectory, and help them see things a little bit differently.
Yeah, it's definitely going back and just facing the past. Like, I'm not going to put a name to my growth anymore. I'm not going to put a name to what my perception of growth is anymore, which I feel like is Adam Crawford. I'm going to keep Crawford because that's the tribe I belong to. My family named Crawford.
Yeah, in a tribe.
But like, Adam, I just feel like it's been all these years, and it's a real deep psychological root that I know a lot of people aren't going to understand, but again, I don't care if they understand it or not. It's my name. I can do what I want. And number two, like, I just feel like Adam has always just been me chasing being a better basketball player, chasing being, a ladies' man, chasing, the money and the fame and all that stuff, that these expectations that people have of me because I'm a screenwriter or whatever, just constantly chasing, but Percy is just me sitting with it, me evolving it, me accepting I'm messed up, I'm going to mess up, and there are going to be people that come in and out of my life, but it's my responsibility to do what I was always meant to do. And I tell you, Rhett, like, ever since I made that executive decision a month ago that I'm going to do this, it's changed my entire mindset.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
It's like flipping a switch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just something that, again, I would encourage anybody, like, you almost need that self-reflection, you know what I mean? Again, like, it's easy to not call yourself out, I guess, for your own shit, because, I mean, there's so many things that distract you, and again, you could fucking endlessly scroll social media and see everybody else's glamour. You can also see everybody's trauma. You see plenty of people that just post all the negative stuff. You can say, well, you know what, I'm not that fucked up. I'm fine, actually. I can just stay right where I'm at, and be insecure or be, whatever, because there's people out there that are much worse than me. But it's like, why not just strive every day to be the best person that you can be, and then also use that power to then improve other people around you.
Yes.
You're not going to change the world, but realistically, your world's only as big as the people that you allow in it. So really, everybody has the power to change their world, and if you can get out of your head, boy, you're off to a good start, So I would wonder though. So like, 12 years old, were you already with the Crawfords? You already with the family then?
Yeah, they were my primary foster family. So
how do they feel about the name change?
they encouraged it. You know, there's like, if you feel like that this is something that you want to do.
Because were they the ones that were there whenever you changed your name the first time? Like whenever you changed it to
Oh, you're
them?
talking about now. Oh, so my dad and I haven't really talked about it a lot recently, but my mom, like I said, she's passed. And I guess this really came out of this past season of Mom, because I call it the season of Mom because her birthday was on April 4th. She died on April 15th, and then Mother's Day is in April too. Wow. And so is my daughter's birthday. So like,
wow.
So this season of Mom was really
That's
big.
a beautiful way to put it. I really like that.
Yes, yeah. So this season of Mom was really huge because it was on April 20th that the fallout between my placeholder and I happened.
Really?
As well too. And then you know, the latest Chica, you know, she came out of that. And then on Mother's Day, we fell out.
Oh, what?
So within this season of Mom, I lost 2. But did I really lose them though? But that's another conversation.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so I just feel like that this whole season of Mom happened because she wants me to face all that stuff. She wants me to go back to the roots and fix what the actual problem is. Because when I was changing my name, like, Dad didn't care. Dad was like, if that's what he wants to do, fine. But Mom really kind of questioned it. You know, she's like, are you sure? Because, you know, like, this is your name. You are Percy. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I understand that, like, you know, you want to change it, you know, for whatever reason it is to fit in or whatever. But, like, you know, she cautioned me losing myself. And so I just feel like that this, especially with just what just happened with, you know, the placeholder and then, you know, the latest young lady, I just feel like that this was really Mom being like, go back.
Yeah, kind of bombarding you with everything and make you really realize it. Because unfortunately, again, like, it's easy to stay in a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
You could stay your own little safe self, but it's like, boy, whenever you get out there, you might be hit with just a bombardment of all of your biggest fears and all the things that you're the most worried and insecure about. But if you survive that and you take a look at it, you know, it's like, holy shit, like, all of that stuff that I was so afraid about literally didn't hurt me at all. It didn't affect me. Like, now I can go, you know, you go back to your roots, because all that stuff that you thought that mattered so much and all that stuff that you thought that you were doing to protect who you were, mm-hmm. or hide who you were, it really doesn't matter, because it's all the same person. It's all the same timeline. Like, it's, you know, it's a growth, you know, and that's mm-hmm. what I think people don't understand. It's like, you know, like, nobody's perfect from day one. Nobody's successful from day one. Mm-hmm. You've got to be complete fuck up. You've got to absolutely know nothing. You've got to go in there and fail and get hurt and crash and burn if you ever want to get to the other side, you mm-hmm. know, and that's, you know, whether it's you believe in heaven, utopia, whatever. I mean, like, nobody is safe and protected from it, you know, so it's like, you know, and how you deal with it and on how you channel it and essentially extract out to the world is everything, you know, like, so I'm actually really fucking stoked to see that, like, that actually happened very, very recently. So, I mean, this is all still on the very, like, surface of your mind, like, you're having this realization to where, like, now it's like you're coming into, like, your third life now, you know, like, you're really seeing things come full circle, you know, that mm-hmm. like, you're embodying really who you are from start to now, mm-hmm. as opposed to just looking at a finite space like, well, this is who I am. Because, like, I was in a weird space for a little bit. It's like, I quit tattooing for a little bit. I just got, like, almost like sensory overload just with the constant closeness and intimacy of doing tattoos for people and being people's therapist and being people's positive rock and reinforcement. Because, again, you know, people gravitate to someone that makes them feel good and makes them look better and makes them, you know, so it's like, as a tattoo artist or an artist that provides people with art in some form, yeah, it's like you carry all this responsibility. Like, it just got to be too much, you mm-hmm. know. And I had people that just were just constantly expecting, and it's like, well, listen, like, if you're not giving me any time to replenish all of that I give everybody, you're fucking squeezing a dried sponge. You know what I mean? Like, there's just nothing in there. You know what I mean? Like, I have to be able to revert back and, you know, because I'm a naturally producing body. I manifest positivity and love and all these things. Right, it's all happening in here, and I give it out endlessly all day. But again, you have to be able to fucking refill that, or else, you know, it doesn't mean anything. It's all just, you know, it's all empty. So, like, they reached a point where I said, that's it. I literally I fucking wrote it off. I'm not tattooing anymore. I got rid of all my stuff. Essentially, gave away all my artwork, you know, sold all my stuff, and I was totally content never doing another tattoo again. because I also hated that had become my identity, to where it doesn't matter who you are or where you came from. When you meet me, tattoo artist, that's who you are. That's what you are. I'm like, I'm so much more than that. That like, if I didn't ever do a tattoo, I'd still be just as cool, just as positive, just as motivated and doing fun shit and being creative. Tattooing is just one small piece of who I am and what I enjoy and do, and in ways that I express myself. I've got a million of other things going on. So it's like I almost needed to completely detach myself from being a tattoo artist. And I did that. I fucking moved into my van. I lived with my cat and traveled and did all that stuff. And like, it got to a point where I took a step back and I'm like, man, everybody that's in my world right now, everybody that knows me, doesn't even know me as a tattoo artist, doesn't even know that I'm a tattoo artist. Very few of them even know that I'm even capable of doing tattoos, because I've distanced myself from it so much that now most of the people that know me just know me as that's just that guy,
Mm-hmm.
cool guy, and it got to be weird. I'm like, well, fuck, I don't ever want to lose that. I don't want to give it up. I always want to be a tattoo artist. I always want to be respected and appreciated for what skills and hard work I put in, because I had committed my whole life to being a tattoo artist. I can't just throw it aside. It is who I am. It is a part of who I am, and I do love being identified that way and being seen as a tattoo artist, and in that sense. But it's like, you got to just stop and have a conversation with people and say, hey, listen, like, if the only reason that you're in my fucking space is to get a tattoo, then I need to accept that. Because, again, people blur the line. Oh, we're friends now. Now I don't have to pay you. Oh, we're friends now. Oh, we're just hanging out. Can I get a tattoo? It's like, well, I have to protect myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so it's just a weird thing to navigate, to where, like, you have to love and hate who you are and what you are equally, because something that makes me who I am is something that, yeah, I kind of hate that that's who I am some days, but at the same time, that's another reason everybody loves me, so I have to accept it. So it's like, it's just a balance. You always got to have a balance of who you are, and your good and your bad, and your mistakes and your fucking triumphs. It's like, people, I think, that cling too much to one thing. I only do good. I'm a perfect person. I never do anything wrong. That's terrible.
Yep.
If you're a negative person, I never do anything right. Nobody ever likes me. Everybody just, that's fucking bad too. Because once you take either one of those things and attach it to somebody else, then you're essentially only attaching yourself to somebody to fill the void that you have. Or fill a space that you have. Mm-hmm. You want to be a whole person when you attach yourself to somebody else, not half a person looking for somebody to complete you.
Mm-hmm.
It's two holes. You make a bigger hole. Mm-hmm. Not two halves make a hole. And I've always said this too, like, people are like, a relationship should be 50-50. No, a relationship should be 100-100. Mm-hmm. Each person should be putting in 100% for themselves and for the better cause.
Right.
We can juggle and we can balance, whatever overlaps, but at the end of the day, I have to be able to stand on my own 2 feet by myself with nobody around. So do you. You know what I mean? And that's whether it's validation of the way you look, the way you feel, the work that you do, the effort you put in. You have to, at the end of the day, be able to accept who you are and what you've done and what you haven't done. Because if you don't, you're just going to be blaming other fucking people for what you haven't done or what you think you can't do. It's like, you got to hold yourself accountable.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is. Like, people today, they take accountability as an attack.
Yeah, it's like, you have to be able to fucking, well, like, I noticed that you kind of been slacking. Well, what do you mean, you fucking asshole?
Yep.
It's like, well, do you want me to tell you, or you just want me to, you want to just live blindly?
Right.
Like, you
got
to be accountable.
And that comes back to, like, just listening and creating that safe space, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, I am not going to sit here and pretend that, like, that I didn't do anything wrong to Chica with that night when I didn't communicate properly, because I didn't. I get that. It would have taken me 5 seconds to send a text saying, hey, I'm okay. Hey, This is what's going on. Whatever. And I didn't do it. So I understand where she's coming from. And then when she was flipping out and being abrasive and, all this stuff, my therapist talked about this, and he's like, you want to know what you did wrong in that situation, because I pride myself in being able to de-escalate and stuff like that. But in that situation, I wasn't de-escalating. There were some times where I retaliated what she said or whatever. But he's like, you did not make her feel safe to unload her feelings because you weren't listening. And I'm like, well, yeah, I was listening. She said this, that, and the third, this, that, and the third. He's like, no, you weren't listening.
You heard it, but you didn't listen.
Exactly. Like, she wasn't, like, He said what he's experienced with women is sometimes when they get upset, they think out loud. So like he's like, if you were listening to her, Adam, if you were listening to her, you would have realized that she wasn't attacking you. She was processing what had happened and trying to decide if you were a safe space for her or not because of what you did.
Right.
And what you did was you basically validated her in not feeling safe. Because she got attached too quick to you, and she was dependent on you to be that safe space for her. So when you did that one little thing that hinted that, like, you may not be or whatever, when she was on that edge, like, okay, do I continue to invest in this or do I run away now before I get hurt? You basically, with the way you responded to her, you told her to get away, to run away. So that's what she did. And then by the time she did that and you realized what had happened, she was gone. Because a woman is going to do that when they don't feel safe. They're going to lock down. They're going to think about their kid. They're going to think about them because nobody wants to repeat what they've been through.
Right.
Nobody wants to go through it again.
Well, especially if you in your own mind are telling yourself, you know what, I know exactly how this is going to play out, which is, again, a slippery slope.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming, I mean, like, it's dangerous to assume in any situation, especially, again, like, if we're not talking about the same person, you can't say that they're going to act the same or that they,
Right, so, like, it's listening to the other people and it's listening to yourself, because you can make yourself feel unsafe.
But see, and I wonder, too, like, obviously, subconsciously, too, you're probably aware that, like, okay, well, this is how she's reacting to something that I know at the end of the day is not really a big deal, or at least in my body and mind, not really a big deal. I was just over here, just having a conversation. I didn't hear from you. I just, I figured I'd hear from you whenever you were available.
Mm-hmm.
To you, completely normal. Makes a lot of sense. So it's like, as soon as you see somebody that's like, wow, like, if I literally just let my mind be free for a moment and I wasn't thinking, oh, I got to check in and I got to validate her insecurity and make sure that she doesn't think I'm doing something. It's like, well, if I got to do all that, maybe I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like, so that almost subconsciously trains your brain to, like, well, you know what? Just hit the eject button. You know what I mean? Like, it's not working. This is, because I've been in that situation before. It's like, well, you know what? Well, with what we do, if this is what you're worried about, you're in for it.
Right.
Because, like, if I forget to, I got to let you know I'm here and I got here, and if I don't do that, you assume the absolute worst. Well, if, like, that's an issue, like, fuck, there's plenty of times where I'm, like, so caught up in what I'm doing that, like, I might not think about that, you know? Right. But I'm staying busy. It's like, oh, well, you didn't text me back. You must have been doing this. It's like, well, you know what I do. I'm probably either riding my bike and I'm not looking at my phone, or I'm doing a tattoo, or it's like I, as an artist, disconnect quite frequently. And my hands are busy quite frequently. Yes. So therefore, when my head and my hands are fully immersed into something, I take pride in the fact that I forget that, this shit exists sometimes. But at the same time, people are like, wow, you know what? You have me, and you should be always aware of the fact that I need you to let me know. And it's like, yeah, that's true, but is that you overcompensating for your insecurities, or is that you need me to do this for, I mean, like, because again, like, I don't want to feel like when we're having a conversation, we're being interrogated, and I would, like, we can have a conversation and ask you questions. But if it's like, wow, you should have done this and you're wrong because you didn't, well, then we're off to a bad start from the very beginning. Like, that's not an open-minded discussion. So yeah, it's a weird fucking space to navigate, especially like you said, especially like the first instance, the first little thing that you might do that sets her off, that thinks you're this and that. Oh, Facebook, here's somebody who wouldn't do that to me.
Yes, exactly.
Like, let me just scroll a little fucking further.
Exactly.
Oh, find a fucking better, whiter Adam. It's like, it's so easy. Like, Adam. Well, good luck, because you're the,
I'm the whitest Adam there is, apparently.
Yeah. That's what I said, like, yeah. Yeah, so it's just one of those things, and I think that the more conversations people have, the more aware that you are, but some people just are not equipped mentally to take the shit that they don't want to hear, because again, like, it's a balance. Yes, I'll check in as often as I can, and if I slip up, I'm sorry, but you do know at the end of the day who I am and what kind of person I am, so you do know that if I fucking slipped up and didn't text you and let you know where I'm at, probably doing something stupid.
Yeah.
I'm probably over here in my top hat filming a skit and fucking making. Yeah, I'm the most ridiculous person ever. The least of your worries should be me doing something nefarious or something. I just not really wired that way most days.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm probably pacing back and forth in my house, having conversations with myself to figure out a scene with characters.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
cutting jokes and writing material for stand up. I have this set up all the time. Like I fucking make up songs and skits, and I'm over here fucking rapping and shit. Like man, you haven't texted me back in 4 hours. It's like yeah, because I'm over here by myself having a blast. Literally, I'm having the time of my life.
That's
by
what
myself.
I'm saying, man.
You got every room's got a different fucking music on, a genre on. Like I can just float through this creative space and and just be myself. Sometimes, again, for me to really just let loose and be my best self, I have to be away from everybody because again, everybody's always looking at you through their lens, their version. So it's like sometimes you just need to be unadulterated, just by yourself. Yeah, I think everybody needs it. I watched this thing the other day that said, like, realistically, every single person alive should take 30 to 60 minutes of complete disconnect.
Yes.
And it's not to say, you have to be, you could just be in a room with just the lights down low, just your phone's not in the room, and just take 30 to 60 minutes just to sit there and be in your own head and just be in your own space because, yeah, you might get a lot of negative thoughts and a lot of bad things because that's what people are most afraid of is that their own thoughts and their own demons and stuff. It's like, so, again, the best thing to do with any of those situations is to face those fears and insecurities and all of that you're dealing with and see it through. It's the most therapeutic thing you can do. A complete disconnect. 30 minutes a day. No phone, no people, no lights, just 30 minutes to yourself.
And I think that's another reason why it takes it's so scary to be with an artist and stuff like that because we have a problem with giving ourselves to other people because when we are doing our art, we're in control. We feel safe there in our art space. So when you got this other person that's literally grounded in reality, job, kid, bills, whatever, it's scary for us to give them that space because they could be here today, they could be gone tomorrow. But art is something that's stayed with us. I saw one of your questions on there for me was when did I start or something like that?
Yeah, you can do it.
All right, let me see.
My crib notes.
Crib notes. All right.
Actually, hold on 1 second. I'm going to take a bathroom break real quick.
Okay. And we have been talking for a while, haven't we? 2.5. 2.5 hours? Is that normal?
Yeah.
I thought a 6 hour podcast.
Oh my.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it?
I'm having a great time. This is cool.
Talk.
Oh, we were just talking about this. Got another judging status update. Question. You said creative writing. Where it all started? So I would say it all started when I was probably 9 or so. I was staying with a bunch of Amish out in the woods, because I was getting anger management help because I just came out of the city. I was a little shithead.
So wait, did you end up with an Amish family through the system?
No, this is an actual school, an actual boys camp where they handle troubled youth.
And they were Amish, so working
Mennonites, but I say Amish because I feel like that's a broader umbrella because
easier to understand.
Mennonites usually fall under Amish people, except Mennonites will actually use electric. That's the only difference between them. So yeah, I was out there, and sometimes to escape reality, I would just write stories, just write stuff, and from there, I just kind of just fell in love with the medium of writing.
Did you like to read?
Here's the funny thing. I'm not really big on reading. I like writing, but not reading. And I read some self-help books every now and again. Like the book I'm reading right now is called Batman and Psychology. It literally takes all of Batman's characters and uses them to explain psychological behaviors and illnesses.
What a cool premise, dude.
Dude, it is a badass book.
See, and that's where a certain fucking mind, there's some geeked out nerd comic book fan, but he got to be an adult and he becomes a psychologist. How can I put my passion into my work.
Dude, and he did. I greatly encourage everybody, spend the $25 and get a copy of the book, because it's fantastic. And I'm on King Tut right now, one of his villains from the
King Tut?
Yeah, from
Not.
I think he's on
King Tut, right?
Not that King Tut, Batman's King Tut. I think he's from I think he originated in the Adam West show.
Okay.
So basically, he's somebody that, like, whenever he gets hit on the head, he all of a sudden thinks he's King Tut, and then he tries to, like, turn Gotham into Egypt and rule tyranny and stuff like that. Like, it's goofy.
That's fucking awesome.
But like they use that to explain, borderline personality disorder. Or
Wow.
It's same thing with Two-Face. Like, Two-Face is borderline personality disorder.
That one a little bit more obvious, yeah.
Or, the biggest one that I was attracted to, though, and I kind of skipped chapters for this one because it was when I was going through my breakup with my placeholder and stuff. Freaking was, why is Batman attracted to dangerous women? Like old Catwoman. And then
I guess she was a bad.
She was bad. Talia al Ghul.
Okay.
And I guess there was a couple others in there, but why are
Poison Ivy? I mean, I don't know if they were together.
I don't think he ever had a thing with her. I think she was always just kind of like that annoying girl that wants you, but you don't want anything to do with her.
Rightfully named too. She'll make you sick.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, she'll make you sick.
You'll be itching.
But like, in that chapter, I learned of the cognitive dissonance theory.
And this might play into what I was going to ask you.
Yeah. So what were you going to ask me?
Well, I just would be interested to pick this guy's brain, because obviously he's bridging two worlds that wouldn't normally have come together. Comic books and fantasy and Batman, all that, but also like breaking down the psychology of these characters and just their motivations and things like that.
Yeah.
So what about why superheroes? Why do they have an alternative identity? You know what I mean? Like, what's the psychology behind hiding behind someone that's good and a do-gooder and someone that saves the town and saves... Like, why do those people hide whenever they would be overly accepted, overly loved? You know what I mean? Is it because of the scrutiny, or is it because the need for disconnecting a private life and privacy and things like that? I mean, I would just be interested to see, because you think about, like, you have to have this... There's Batman, there's Bruce Wayne, so it's like, why the hiding? Because he's a public figure, he's a rich whatever, but he's also a crime fighter. You know what I mean? Like, he could balance both of those identities and be accepted by everybody, but he hides.
Well, there's 3 points that I can make to that. So the first one is just understanding the cognitive dissonance theory. It's basically well, do you know what it is? Do you know what that means?
No, but just knowing the terms, I had a feeling that this might play into what I'm thinking. So.
Yes, okay. So cognitive dissonance theory is basically you justifying someone else's bad actions or your own with good intentions. So it'd basically be like you smoking a cigarette and being like, I know this is going to kill me, but it's also going to help me de-stress. And that's actually something that I see in myself too, because like these toxic women that I was with, I justified being with them by I can help them, type of thing. So like there's that, and then you talking about why hide and stuff like that. So in American Vigilantes, my script, there's a blink and you'll miss it scene where Eden, the MMA fighter, wants to challenge a vigilante to a cage match, and the reporter is just saying like, oh, he's a hero, he's done all this and that and the third, and Eden's just like, but is he though? Because like he wears a mask, he's a liar, like if like you want to crucify, I forget the exact examples I use in the script, but like he's like, you want to crucify people like Bin Laden and all these other guys that don't wear any masks, because like they're like, I mean, Bin Laden is probably a terrible example, but like let's
to play devil's advocate, Bin Laden might have been a great father. He might have been a great husband to 9 wives. I mean, you just don't know.
Right, and like the point I was trying to make with it is that like villains, they don't normally hide behind masks. They let people know what they're thinking, let people know why they're hurt, and the only thing that separates a villain from a hero is that they don't know how to process those feelings because society has told them that how they process is wrong.
Mm.
So like, you know, we wanna crucify them, but then someone like a superhero who has a colorful costume and a cool nickname, you know, we want to glorify them when really they're the biggest liars of them all. Because like we don't know their dog's name, we don't know their favorite sex position, we don't even know their actual name.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
where
saying?
they really stand is where it all would boil down to, because it's like, okay, well, if for you to do good, you first have to deceive me about who you are.
Exactly.
What are you really doing?
Yeah, so like if you feel like you have to deceive me, then what are you actually hiding?
Right.
You know, and so like again, the cognitive dissonance theory comes into play with all that. Like they are justifying going out there and like Batman, for instance, and he does a whole chapter on Batman and why Batman even wears a mask, which I'm going to get to in a second. But like Batman's out there justifying violence because, you know, he doesn't want other people to be a victim of violence. Exactly. So Batman wears so like with him, like you said, like Bruce Wayne, if people knew that Bruce Wayne was out there actually like fighting and doing all that stuff, they would love him even more. So why is he hide behind a mask? And the chapter is, or the explanation in theory is because when Bruce Wayne puts on that Batman mask, he's not Bruce Wayne anymore. He is now the what's the word I'm looking for? The incarnation of his pain, of you know, everything that's ever been wrong to him, and he allows himself, he gives himself permission to project that pain onto criminals.
Interesting.
So like when he doesn't have the mask on and he punches somebody, it's like, oh, I'm sorry. Here, let me get you a cab. Let me take you to the hospital.
Or also, say Bruce Wayne out in public sees, you know, something going down or whatever, somebody even just being fucking whatever, ignorant, rude, whatever, disrespectful, even maybe somebody fucking takes his wallet right off of his fucking person. Bruce Wayne attacks somebody or fights somebody. He's a public figure. I mean, like, there's things that would be said. There would be complications involved. You know what I mean? So, like, hiding behind the mask gives him the power to do things that a normal, everyday Bruce Wayne would never do. You know
exactly.
What I mean? Like, he wouldn't act out of character. Like, sure, he could be a crime-fighting businessman, but at the same time, there'd be all this PR bullshit. Wow, you know, is he just attacking people that are business fucking constituents or competition? Like, there'd be all this bullshit they'd fucking manufacture because of it. So you have to embody a different identity, because that identity, is sole purpose is to go out and do that. You know, like, yeah, it's a weird thing. It'd be like, I think, no, I couldn't make that stretch. But it's an interesting concept because, again, like, you have to accept that, okay, well, for me to go out and do right, I have to do a little bit of wrong. I have to hide a little bit. I got to protect myself to be able to be this person that's doing all this good, which trickles right back to where we started, in the sense that if I am a crime fighter, in the sense that my superpower is positivity and motivating people and encouraging people, and also I posted a thing a while ago, which I don't usually do the meme thing, but like, I have this fucking problem that if you spend enough time around me, I'll make you believe you can do everything that you'd ever dreamed of. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, that's my superpower, is that I literally I can change somebody's perspective into thinking like, okay, you can do great things. You are not all of these things that you know are scared to admit you are. It's like, so with that power, I don't know where I was really going with this, but like, where was I going with this? Oh, okay. So to provide that, to be able to do that, to be able to go out there and fight crime, negativity, so to speak, I also have to be able to hide and be who I really am, you know, without everybody else judging me and looking at me and assuming and making their own inferences. You know, like, I have to be able to, at the end of the day, go back and be myself if I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do great things or extraordinary things that normal people can't do because of the worry of judgment or criticism or whatever, you know, because again, I could go out there and fight crime and be fine with it, but like, there'd be a lot of blowback, you know, there'd be a lot of judging and stuff. But if I am, you know, doing that under a different identity, then that person only exists when that's happening, you know, like, it's.
And you see, that's kind of the same thing with being an artist, right? Like freaking, so you got your public persona, your Bruce Wayne, who, you know, that's the side of you that, like, you know, is interacting with the public, is doing everything right and stuff like that. But then you got your vigilante side. So for me, my vigilante side would be being a screenwriter, you know, and my scripts are my mask. My scripts are my Batman suit and my gadgets and all that stuff. But then, like, you know, obviously Bruce Wayne has to train in order to be Batman. He has to sweat. He has to he studied like over 142 different forms of martial arts and all that stuff. So then my training is the victimhood. That is where, I
made you
am
tough. It made you strong.
That's where, yeah, in that victimhood, that victim mindset, that's where I'm making all my notes. That's where I'm doing the outlines and the summaries and, doing the research and all that stuff so I can then put on my suit, which is my scripts, and then present it to the world.
Right.
So like, I think
it's cool because again, your script is like your shield
Mhm.
too. It's like like you're able to go out there and really be on the fucking front lines of whether it's negativity or criticism, but because you have this and this power of words and this cloak that you've created for yourself in art, you're invincible. You know what I mean? Like literally, it gives you the power to deflect all of that and really stay true to the common goal and the common good, which is not even just. It's almost selfless. It's not
Mhm.
just for you because like he could stay in his fucking mansion with his fucking fenced in condominium and crime would maybe never touch his fucking backyard.
exactly.
But he goes out there and does things, for the greater good. And I like that you stated too just his work ethic and the training because I don't know if there's any other superheroes, but Batman aside, doesn't have some crazy story or origin story how he got superpowers or any of this stuff. Like he's just a regular guy,
Mhm.
and he's going out there. So it's like you can make these similarities where like okay, well like you can be normal and also be extraordinary and still do great things while maintaining a regular persona or a regular job or a regular day to day or have a family or whatever. Like
And you see, that's what people don't
balance.
understand. That's what people don't understand about us is that like for us, tattoo artists, BMX rider, or screenwriter, whatever, we have to sit in our victimhood in order to become that. We have to figure out how we're going to turn that into a final product that we could share with other people. Because like you said, Batman is just a normal person. Bruce is just a normal person, but yet Bruce can walk into a room full of superheroes in his Batman persona, and they all know, respect this guy.
Right.
He like this is a guy that even Superman will like bend a knee to. You know what I'm saying? And that takes a lot of discipline and will to get yourself to that point. So like I think this is one of the reasons why I gravitated towards Batman so much. I mean, my favorite superhero is Nightwing.
Okay.
Because I feel like Nightwing is a perfect combination of Batman and Spider-Man, and he's just, he's such a cool character. But like, I gravitated towards Batman so much, because like, his main superpower, people would say his riches or whatever, but his main superpower is his mind. It's his will, that he developed from a very traumatic experience that he had as a child.
Well, and he was given up, right? He was a foster kid. Is that
Um,
accurate?
it depends on. I
Is he
mean,
adopted?
it's all basically the same, but yeah. So basically, what happened was, his parents were murdered, and
That's right.
Alfred raised him
Right.
until he was like. Well, it depends on what interpretation, on what age he actually leaves Alfred. Some it's 14 or 15, others it's 18, whatever. And that's when he goes on his crusade across the world and learns all these martial arts
Right.
and stuff. Then he comes back to Gotham and he's,
And see, I love that in that. I guess it was not the new Joker movie, but the first one that they did with Joaquin. Is that
Joaquin Phoenix, yeah.
But I love that they tie that in there because then you get the origin story of Bruce Wayne at the end of that fucking movie where he's in that alleyway and he killed both of his parents. He's standing there with his parents dead. It's like, man, when I seen that, I'm like, oh my god, I've always, like I never really looked deep into comic books. I probably could have found out the answer long before that, but it's like I never really knew the origin story of him. You know what I mean? So like, I love that they ended with that, so you know where it all started. Like.
And that's that's the beauty of cinema therapy, like we were talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, freaking just, I feel like Hollywood has kind of lost its grip on making meaningful things because like that's what makes a classic is when it's something that's timeless with a timeless message. Like I can pop in my all-time favorite movie is 2011's Warrior, about the two brothers that enter the same MMA battle or MMA tournament, whatever. I could pop that sucker in any day of the week, any year, and still get a ton from it.
Right.
Or even any of the Lord of the Rings movies, pop those in and all about brotherhood. You know what I'm saying? Or what's another oldie but a goodie? Freaking The Lion King. Accepting your
like,
destiny.
I mean, I guess we're about the same age, but like stuff like the Sandlot, Stand By Me, those are good ones too.
Stand By
Like,
Me, yes.
those are obviously like, absolute ingrained classics, but it's the same thing. It's like, boy, like, to have the ability, and I've always thought about this as someone who, like, in most cases, I'm behind the camera. I've always wanted to be a photographer or a filmer or whatever. Never inspired or aspired to be in front of the camera or doing any of that. I was always the one that was producing the imagery. So it's like, to be able to, put images in front of people, and moving images as movies would be, it's like, well, you can really invoke that cat. You can invoke so much feeling and thought in somebody by just presenting an idea in the right way, and again, in the wrong way, you can do the same thing. It's like, so, like, I don't know. I always wonder, because obviously in our criticism, movies have just gotten kind of worse.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like they're losing their substance, they're losing their message, or has the message just changed so much that we don't understand it? You know what I mean? That to where maybe they're trying to tell us or teach us something different than they were, whenever we started watching films and stuff, because we always laugh. It's like, boy, there's some things that we see in movies and stuff, but it's like, are they indoctrinating you into, maybe the way that society's supposed to shift, or the way that they want things to be, like, because again, if you're, I guess, a conspiracy theorist, I mean, you would also wonder, like, there's a reason and a motivation for what the narrative is that they're putting out. And if I'm looking at things like, boy, all this stuff sucks and I don't understand it and I don't resonate with any of it, I don't connect with it, that doesn't deem it to be wrong. I just don't understand it. So maybe they're playing to a different audience. Maybe they're playing to the people who are maybe weak-minded, or maybe not free thinkers, or maybe people who are, ready to just fall in line with the way that society is supposed to shift, and like, we don't understand it or like it because we're just out of the box.
Well, I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with, like, shifting, as you say. I think there's something wrong with overkill. Like, you don't need to change my narrative or my familiarity. Like, let's just use superheroes for an example. Like, they in 2016 they created this character Ironheart, who's supposed to be this little black girl who is an Iron Man. And that was right around when the Me Too craze started. And okay, fine, you can create a black girl that's a genius, but did you really have to knock off Iron Man for it?
Yeah. What's I don't know, like, what's the real reason for, those decisions?
It's agenda. It's propaganda. Because, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't feel like Hollywood makes anything to actually connect with the audience anymore. I think they're just milking the audience. Like, whatever trend is hot right now, that's what they're going to adjust their movies. Because, I mean, even look at the DCEU. The movies about Superman and Batman, Wonder Woman, and all that stuff. The MCU, like, the MCU was hot.
We're talking about DC Comics and Marvel is what.
Yeah, like, so the MCU was like, Iron Man, Captain America, Avengers, and that sort of thing. They were killing it with their movies for up until 2019, I think, is when Endgame came out. Killing it with their movies. But then, DC was trying to play catch up. In 2013 they released Man of Steel, which was a Superman origin movie. And then instantly after that they did Batman versus Superman. And then they tried to rush Justice League, but, like, when I don't fault
Deadpool. What is that? Is that
Marvel? That's Marvel. Yeah. But it's a whole tangled web, because Deadpool actually belonged to Fox, so they couldn't use him in the MCU at the beginning. But then Disney bought Fox, so now they can use him.
Isn't that fucking, like, that's not a whole fucking side of the thing too? Is like, who has the rights to what?
It's a lot, man. But, like,
and that's where, if you're not smart, she's fucking with the fucking tripod. She's rubbing against it. But that's where, again, if you're not really smart as an artist and someone that creates something, make sure you have everything that you need to prove that and validate that that's your creation, that's your original work. Because, boy, in this world, especially with the age of media, like, I a long time ago was like, I can post artwork, I don't give a fuck if somebody steals it. But at the end of the day, if you build something and have a foundation of something and you create something, you never know what's going to resonate. Maybe somebody stole something that ends up being a thing, and then you have to backpedal and say, I got to prove that this was my original idea or my thing.
Oh, of course, man. There's vultures out there, because, once again, the whole topic of this entire podcast, man, process and patience. You know?
Yeah, people would rather get the quick fix, listen to your idea, and jump on it, especially because there might be somebody right now listening to this right now that has more means, more accessibility, more networking capabilities to where, like, right now, your idea is just on the fucking burner. You got to still put the ingredients in. You're still trying to make it work. You haven't put it out there yet. But somebody just gets a tidbit if they think that they know what you're going to do, and they have all these resources that they can mass produce it and put it out. And then there, not only did they steal your idea, but boy, did they just flush it off. Like, boy, you cut out 90% of its potential because you just rushed it and you wanted it out now and wanted to just get that instant validation. If you would have just kept it under wraps for a year and really worked on the substance, boy, would it have such a longer lasting impact.
That's that's like with everything nowadays. Everyone just like just wanting to instantly get there instead of putting in the work to get there. It's kind of like I was just thinking this a little bit ago. I don't remember exactly what you said, but like I circled back to our whole thing about like relationships or whatever. I feel like, and it's not just relationships; it's also just with life in general, like people that go to the gym or other artists or whatever. I feel like we just all live to post nowadays. Like we're going to do this just so we can post about it. Right. We're going to do this just so we can get some likes and stuff like that. No one is actually genuine about their experiences anymore. Like we're going to post about this. I get that, but that's not why I wanted to do this.
You know what's weird? Because I pride myself in being like, I don't get caught up in that shit. I don't give a fuck. I actually enjoy more of myself when people are not liking me. I think for some reason I feed off of, like I said, the challenge. It's harder. But I did notice I used to be a hardcore gym rat. I would go to the gym anywhere from 2 to 3 times a day, and that was my routine. That was my endorphin fit. I just love to be in the gym. But I would notice when my Apple Watch was dead and I wasn't getting credit on my watch for the workout that I did, I didn't even want to go. I didn't even enjoy it as much. So I'm like, well, how can I validate and prove what I did? I mean, sure, I did it. I know I did it. But I don't have that validation, and like if I went to tell somebody how many hours I spent at the gym, I couldn't show them and prove it. So it's like part of me, I'm like, boy, isn't that a fucking weird thing? I don't even want that watch anymore. I'm like, if like I'm waiting for that to tell me how good of a workout I got, then I don't want it, because what really matters is the results and how I feel mentally or physically. Even if I don't burn a single calorie or shed any weight or look any better or get a date because of my time in the gym, mentally I'm gaining something, and that's really what matters the most. Like I'm a better person.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And like even with like the like I posted on Facebook about my bike ride the other day. Like yes, I eventually did tell people about it, but like
if you didn't post it, it didn't happen.
Yeah, basically. But no, like I did eventually tell people about it, but like in the initial instance, I was just like, I'm doing this, because I want to do it, and freaking, because that's where confidence comes from. Confidence comes from what you accomplish when nobody else is around. You know what I'm saying?
And that's discipline. That's true
It's
self-discipline.
discipline. It's will. Because like even my boss, or not my boss, but my coworker at that store, because I mean they knew, because I was coming to that store. When I showed up, I was like drenched and stuff like that. But like he was like, I wouldn't have even been mad if you would have called off. Because I would have understood why, and I'm just like, that's just not the kind of person I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I start something, I'm going to finish it. I don't care if it takes me 2 hours, 3 days. Well, better not take me 3 days, but like, with anything, like once again, circling back to American Vigilantes, like if I didn't appreciate the process of things, American Vigilantes could have been done in like 6 months. Put it out there, stamp it done, whatever. No, the sucker took me about like 6-7 years to get right before I put it out there. You know what I'm saying?
Because and you probably could still look at it and think, maybe it wasn't ready yet. Maybe I could have done this or that, because it's still like
I might have did that.
Well, it's like people laugh at me and think I'm nuts, but I've literally never finished a piece of artwork ever. That's how I see things. I've never finished anything because nothing is ever truly done until I'm fucking dead. I could add to it. I could do more. I could I could throw it back in the mixer, blend it back up, and fucking do something new out of it tomorrow. You know what I mean? Anything. Literally anything. It's like literally nothing is ever done, and it's like
That's one of the best pieces of advice a screenwriter ever gave me.
never finished anything.
Yeah, she said no she well that but like no she told me she's like the number one rule that you well she told all of us because it was at the screenwriters summit I went to. She's like the number one rule you guys as screenwriters need to understand is a story's never going to be finished. You're never going to be done with it, And then we're just like, well, then how do we know when to put it out, or whatever? And she that's what she said. She said you'll know. There's no scientific explanation behind it or whatever. You'll just feel it. Like, okay, there is nothing more I could do at this point. Just let it go.
Like that. It's almost like you almost find peace in it at some point. Like again, I can set this aside and be like, man, I'm really, really, really happy with it. And I'm actually a little bit afraid that if I do even one more thing, I'll fuck it up. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you're like, it's funny because it actually kind of leads back into, like, I talk about this all the time, but imposter syndrome, to where it's like, maybe I'm fooling myself. I think I'm good and I see it every day and other people tell me I'm good and like I'm doing this and people pay me to do it and like I must be good, right? But sometimes even in the middle of something, I'm like, man, I could fuck this up at any point in time if I'm not really, really careful and really understanding. And humble is another big thing. If you don't let your ego get too far ahead of you, say, well, you know what? I have to understand that every day I'm starting from step one and I'm learning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know everything. If anything, I don't know anything. You know what I mean? So, like, there's some things where, like, you're right, you find peace in it and I can set it aside. And I'd be totally content if I never worked on that thing ever again. And it was just, that's it. I put it out there. But as soon as I do that, I'm like, God, I could do this. And same thing. As soon as we hit stop on that recording and we get up, we're like, we should have talked about that. Fuck, we had to half the time we hit stop, we'll go downstairs. All right, yep, see you later. We'll stand in the kitchen for a half an hour and talk. It's like, you know what I mean?
Why didn't we do this upstairs?
It's like you're never, ever, ever really going to be satisfied that you have a conclusion. You have to just accept it, Some things just have open ends, and we'll come back. We'll do it again, or we'll.
Well, my thing is, especially with the screenwriting, is when I feel like it's time to release that story and let it go, is when it goes from being a story to a movement. Like, because when it's a story, it's entertaining and stuff like that. But when it's a movement, it's connecting. Like, if I can sit back and I can read that and I can feel like I've changed. I just changed reading my own words. Then that's when I'm like, it's ready. Yeah. Let it go.
And see, me being visual, it's like, to me, that's when it lands. You know what I mean? Like, okay, like the whole time you've got him up, you've got him excited, you've got him, by the balls. But at some point, you have to shift them because there's a meaning, there's a reason for this. You know what I mean? So, like, at some point, the excitement and all the fun has to stop. And we have to see, like, what was all that for?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's kind of neat. At least, like, with a book, a movie, maybe even a song. I guess with anything. You could always do a part 2. There's always a to be continued. Everything I do is dot. You know what I mean? Like
dot.
Yeah, but I love that though, because again, I think that that's an important thing that again artists are unique to, that you'll forever stay young if you're always excited and motivated about what you're doing and what's coming next. You live 10 years ahead. I mean, I literally think about things decades in the fucking future. Like you said, how things are going to land and resonate, what's going to be left behind. So it's like to have that kind of, enlightenment, over a long span of time, where most people nowadays, especially, are living so much day to day, whether it be their validation or their relationship or their job, or it's like, if it's not satisfying my needs today and right now, I don't want anything to do with it. I'm not going in. I'm not engaging. It's like, well, you know what? Like 5 days out of fucking 10, I'm going to feel that way, but I still go in every day because at the end of the day, those 4 days where I feel on top of my fucking world are worth all of those days where it's like, this is the process. You got to enjoy the work. Because if you don't, it's just work, and then you feel like it's, you're trapped.
Well, yeah, because, even as an artist, I mean, you literally said this a couple times during the cast, but, like, even as an artist, there's some days where we don't enjoy what we do. Like, there's some days where I'm sitting there and I'm writing, and I'm just like, I don't want to figure this character out. I don't want to figure this plot point out. Like, that's too much work.
Wouldn't you just kill to be a normal person some days?
Yes! Like, I would love to just, like, want to just go to my 9 to 5 and come home and sit and watch TV and not think anything.
Mindless.
I would love to just watch a movie and not have to point out the flaws. You know? like I cannot watch a movie now, bro, without being like, that door was shut in the last cut, or like freaking. Or like this is plot point 1. This is where the protagonist accepts. We're getting ready to go into plot point 2, and you know the girl be sitting over like, Adam, shut up, and I'm like, wait, it gets better. You know?
I love noticing the inconsistencies with wardrobe and things that change because again, as an artist, you're like, was that a fucking Easter egg or is that a mistake?
Exactly, man.
We'll never know.
Yes, the details. And I would love to just be able to do that. I would love to be able to like freaking have a conversation with somebody and not like pay attention to their shoulders and be like I just it because that's what it is. Am I wrong? I'm not wrong. Or like be able to sit there and people watch in public and not think that like, oh, they must have had a rough night, and then this overanalyzing like it sucks.
Again, that's through your lens. You know what I mean? Like, they have a rough night, bags into the eyes. I've seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the human nature of what we are. I mean, like, unfortunately, we're forever going to be in our own heads, and like everything is looked through that lens. But I like that because I've said this before, to where like being a tattoo artist has made it fucking impossible for me to go and get a tattoo somewhere. Because like whenever I walk into a shop, it's like, okay, my shop is my shop.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's going to feel and it's going to be everything I need it to be. It's my sanctuary, which is why if I'm not in the right headspace, I don't even go in that direction. I won't even walk through that door if I'm not mentally fucking ready to do it.
Sure.
But it's like one of those things where like now if I walk into another tattoo shop, I'm like, well, first of all, I do this. I'm like looking for fucking dust. Because I know that's like fucking skin and that's all. Fucking. Well, I mean, like to have to be in a tattoo shop, it's like, well, you want to be aware of that kind of stuff. So it's like when I walk into a tattoo shop, from the time I walk in to the time I walk out, I subconsciously am not so much judging, but critical, more aware. I have a heightened sense of awareness than a normal person walking in because I do this every day. And like, well, I do this every day. Well, of course, that different person's going to do things differently. I'm like, well, fuck, I wouldn't have done that. I don't do that. Why'd they do that? You know what I mean? Like, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, why was this needle open before I even came in?
Yeah.
I open every needle in front of everybody so that they know it's a clean, first time used needle. But, like, that's not a rule. It's not a law. It's just a common courtesy. But some people don't do that. But whenever I walk in there and I see stuff's already opened and laid out before I even walked in, I have walked out of tattoo shops that I have appointments and deposits on. Like, heebie-jeebies, no, I didn't see you open that fucking thing in front of me. I don't know if it was on the floor 10 minutes ago or where it was or who touched it or what touched it. So it just creates this fucking perception to where normally I wouldn't have that. But because I am that person, same thing with you watching a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing when I'm listening to a song or listening to somebody's comedy material. I'm like, when I listen to one of these pop songs that make me nauseous, that's on the radio, I'm like, can you believe that somebody, wrote that down, thought it was a good idea, refined it, still thought it was a good idea, went into the booth and recorded it, still thought it was a good idea, and now it's on the radio and they fucking still think it's a good idea. That is the worst fucking line I've ever heard in a song or a movie.
Well,
like, what the fuck were they thinking?
I just feel like that, just
so many chances to save yourself.
Exactly, and once again, just tying into society and process and stuff is that like I feel like our audience just does not appreciate what actual talent is anymore. They appreciate the escapism behind what somebody is doing, like anything that makes them headbang or just kind of like. I mean, that's the point of entertainment is to,
What are you got against headbanging, bro?
I don't have it. No, nothing against headbanging.
Fucking get this guy out of here.
No, I mean, good. It's hot up here. Let me out. But like, I used to have dreads down past my shoulders, dude. So
I can see that.
I know what the headbanging is, but like anything. But what it basically means is that anything that will like just help people get distracted from their problems or whatever, they're into, they'll make popular. Like they don't want to go through the work to actually think and appreciate anymore.
Well, it's like one of these things, and we've probably touched on this a couple of different ways, but it's like, okay, well, if you want to feel something, you better be ready to feel all of the good and all of the bad. Mm-hmm. That's a single fucking unit. If you want to feel stuff, you're going to feel it all.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to be numb and mindless and not have to think or feel, keep staying plugged in, keep watching these shit movies that have no fucking basis.
Stay in your comfort zone. Exactly.
You know, it's like, so if you're watching something and, oh, I felt something. What was that? I feel something. People are like,
I'm feeling.
oh, I feel sad, or I feel angry, or you know what I mean? I don't like the way that I feel. It's like, well, good. Lean into that. You know what I mean? Understand why you feel that way. You know what I mean? Like, was it the word? Was it their demeanor? Color of their skin? The way that they're fucking dressed? The way that they, you know what I mean? Like,
but Rhett, that will require
understand it.
them understand that they've been wrong.
But maybe they haven't been. Maybe them themselves are just, you know, perceiving things in, you know, a different way. Because, like, again, it's hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
You might say something to me right now that maybe like, pfft. But later on, I'm laying in bed, I'm like, what the fuck did he say that to me? Is there really something fucking wrong with my fucking hat? Like, you know what I mean? Like, am I an asshole for this haircut? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, so, again, on surface level, you might just be saying something and, you know, you assume that I know that you mean nothing by it. But, you know, as I sit at home and all the other shit's gone, all the other distractions are gone, and I'm left with that one little fucking thing you said about my fucking hair. I'm like, oh my god, now I'm gonna go cut my fucking hair because you know.
Well, again, that's where communication comes in, you know, because that was another thing that Chica did was like I'd have conversations with her about my ex or whatever, and you know, she would think that I'm comparing, and she wouldn't say anything about it. She just let it go. We're having conversations with her, but the night that everything blew up, it all came out.
See,
and she's just like, "You compared me so many times." I'm like,
why didn't you catch me?
You didn't tell. He's like, because you're a grown man. I'm like, listen, relationships. This is what relationships are. Is we have to hold each other accountable. Because how am I going to fix a problem that I don't know is a problem?
Well, in grown man, that's whatever. A man is still just a label. We're all just overgrown infants. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know if you listen to any like other podcasts, but like Jordan Peterson and Rogan both talk about this too. It's like, boy, you realize that we're all just big babies. You know what I mean? Like literally every day we're experiencing things, all new things for the first time in a lot of cases. It's like, and what are we supposed to do with that information? You know what I mean? Like we're fucking weird biological creatures to where like, you know, all we can do is just get through it and understand it. And like, thankfully, we're not animals. We have words and we can communicate with each other. And like, I can at least make the best attempt to understand where you're coming from and how you feel. Because if we were just animals and you're on my turf, I'm just going to bite you. I don't need to ask any questions.
Mm-hmm.
But I have words and I have this power. So it's like, why not do what we were fucking given as a whatever God-given skill to be able to speak and communicate? Why not? I mean, like, you're a fool almost if you choose to act based on just feelings and not take the time to understand with words. And you know, like, again, because many situations could be avoided and prevented if you just say, hey, listen, this is where I'm coming from, this is what I need, what do you need, how can we find some common ground, you know? But too many people are just ready to act on emotion or assume, because it's easier to assume than it is to break things down and ask questions, especially because you might actually be someone that wants to talk, but one word out of everything I said is a trigger word. And now everything that I just said that really had a lot of malleable fucking information that you could have used to help the situation, it's all out the window because I used one wrong word. And now it's all blown up, and now I have to play catch up and defend. You know, so it's like, it's a weird thing because we live in a society where now people are sensitive to just one word or one phrase, or even just like, I could say, have a nice day. Like, well, my words were positive, but my tone made you feel like I was being an asshole or sarcastic. So it's like,
well, that's why I tell people all the time. I'm like, the only element that we have as humans that does not lose is trauma. Like, it either empowers you or it destroys you. How it affects you is contingent on your reaction to when that trigger is hit. You know, like, because I actually watched this Psych to Go video last night, but it ties directly into what my theory has always been on trauma, which, like, if you don't talk about it, like that experience that happens to you, Psych to Go. I'll send you the link later. Trauma, that experience is a seed. So if you don't let it out, what's going to happen is like everything bad that happens after that is going to water that seed. It's going to grow. It's going to grow. It's going to grow until it becomes a trigger. And then I just met you today, and you can sit over there and be like, my favorite animal is a rat. And then I'm going to sit over here and start freaking out and have an anxiety attack because, you know, I have bad experiences with rats. But how are you going to know that if I didn't talk to you about it first?
Right.
You know? And that's what I'm saying. Like, people like trauma. That's why I say trauma doesn't lose, and that's why it's so important for us to talk about it with somebody that we're going to be like, and even just look at, like, once again, circling back to it. I hate to keep circling back to it, but once again, just look at relationships. We don't do that anymore. We don't sit down and have the serious conversations that need to be had. Like, what are your traumas? What is your financial situation? I mean, finances
or even what are you
aside.
afraid of?
Exactly.
What is your biggest fucking fear in this situation?
Exactly, because even with Chica, like, how was I to know that one night of not communicating properly was going to set her off like that? Right. She never talked to me about it.
Yeah, if she would have just said, hey, you know what, this guy that I was with before, he would disappear for hours and he wouldn't answer me back, and then I would find out later on he was doing something nefarious behind my back. You could say, okay, well, you know what, I'm going to make sure that I don't paint you into that box to feel that way or even make those assumptions. Now I have the right tools to correct that problem. It's like, so it's preventative.
Exactly.
And I like that you said about it, trauma is a seed. And again, whatever attention you give it is going to sprout a different plant. So again, I can use communication and positivity as my pesticide.
Exactly.
And use that to make sure that this thing sprouts a beautiful, bountiful plant instead of a weed.
Exactly, and then you could use the fruit from that plant to give to someone else, so then they understand.
People. Absolutely, now you're feeding people with it.
Exactly, that's why I say trauma. It doesn't lose.
Man,
it doesn't.
What a fucking great analogy. To where literally you have the option to either fucking give it nourishment, obviously, and then if you don't and you give it neglect and you don't really give it the attention that it needs, it's obviously going to get out of control. It's going to be unhinged.
Once again, like I said. Trauma llamas, man. Like, they will sit there and they'll eat those weeds. Like, that's what they want. They don't want the fruit. They want the exactly. And the Sight to Go video, it validated my theory on that, because it also said that, like, trauma doesn't just affect your mentality, it also affects your physicality. Like, have you ever been so stressed that you just felt a pain in your back and you didn't know where it came from and stuff like that?
I get it, like, right here. Yeah. Like tension, stress behind the eyes.
Untreated trauma. That's your body trying to communicate with you that there is something not right about your mind.
It's almost like the flashing light in your car. Your check engine light's on.
Exactly.
Like, hey, listen, this environment is causing you to cross your wires. Or like, I always explained it like, listen, if I'm around somebody, because I know at the end of the day by myself who I am, what I believe in, what matters to me, again, what I don't want in my life, because that's another thing too that I think that so many people have lost the respect for, that if I, as my own person, who I have my own human rights to be around who I choose and what I want, if I just flat out say, hey, listen, I have a little bit of an idea of what kind of person you are and the weight that you carry, I accept that, but it's not for me. I choose to just not engage with you, not be involved with you, not have any kind of relationship with you. And when we use the term relationship, this isn't just an intimate or a spouse or whatever. Relationships can be all kinds. Work and relationship, a stranger on the street, these relationships you have with people are all over, so it's like, you have the opportunity to either, where was I going with that?
ADHD moment.
What's that?
ADHD moment.
Yeah.
I have them all the time, bro.
Blame Haley. But it's like, these relationships, you have the opportunity to either, be
nourish them.
Yeah, be in your best light by giving them the attention that they need and understanding that, like, we're all a different fucking version of this plant, but essentially we're all the same plant at the end of the day. It's like, but if you don't know what kind of plant it is or what that plant needs, then you're just misdiagnosing it. It's like, it's just like any kind of illness. Oh, it was the check engine light thing. It's like, again, your systems are telling you that, hey, listen, you got to, take a step back and kind of do some self-diagnosing. And understand what's causing you to feel this way, and maybe things need to shift around. But in most cases, those things can be fixed by a conversation and just better understanding of what's on the other side.
Yeah, and that's what I told her too. Like, I was just like, we did not have to end this way. This could have been fixed by a conversation or even just distance. Just tell me that you need a couple days, because that's another thing that I think society has weaponized too, is somebody taking distance, because again, nope, I can do this all day. No patience, no process. Right. So, like, something bad happens. We want to solve this now. We want this to get done now. But I'm one of those people where if you got me to that point where I'm upset, I don't want to talk to you, because I know that my words are going to make this worse. I can acknowledge that. That's a toxic trait of mine. When I get mad, I just fire off.
Right.
So just leave me be. let me walk away for a couple hours. It's just a couple hours. Just let me walk away for a minute, and we'll be fine. But like both the placeholder and Chica did the exact same thing. When there was a fight, they wanted to push me, and I would tell them, stop talking to me.
Well, especially when you try to get distance and say, "Hey, this is what I need," and then they bombard you with like constant interaction and constant need, because that's the thing. It's got to be a mutual understanding to where, like, okay, this is what I need, this is what you need. They might be polar opposites. We might need the complete opposite, but out of respect, you give me my hour, I can give you everything you need.
Exactly.
But if you force me to neglect what I need, we're going to both be in a situation where neither one of us are getting what we need, because I'm not receiving what you're saying, which is just going to make you feel worse because you're not being listened to or heard. So yeah, I totally agree with that, because again, same thing, like even if it's in the sense of a tattoo and it's not a personal relationship, it's like, man, sometimes I have to just take a step back, because a lot of times it's like sensory overload. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to fucking decipher all the stuff that's happening, between your demeanor, your actions, why you feel that way, why you're coming at me this way. I'm trying to process it all, and I'm really good at that.
Right.
But sometimes in real time, or when it's, loud noises and it's a lot of in your face, like, well, like, you need that, filter it all out one by one. Let me analyze what's happening and why it's happening, because I guarantee that if you just give me that little bit of time to process things and get everything out, you're going to have a completely different person, or at least you're going to have the person that you are used to having all the time, because in most cases, it's like these situations, these blowouts, they're very isolated, very few and far in between.
Right.
9 days out of 10, everything is cool and kosher. We're on the same page. Everybody understands what everybody needs and wants. But like you said, then something little fucking happens and you get all this blowback. It's like, well, why didn't you tell me this stuff like for the last 6 months? You could have been preventing all of this, because right now you're reacting to something that to me is something so small, but you've dropped this fucking bomb of stuff that you've been just withholding from me, essentially. It's like, you want me to be able to understand you without having all of the information, which is impossible.
Right. Well, so real quick, I wanted to. There's a couple things here that I wanted to kind of touch on, just like kind of
Yeah,
it's
please do.
the legacy move, what's the end goal, and the dream project, no limits. So like this, it all kind of ties into one.
Cool.
So what I would like to do is right now I'm going to school for screenwriting too. I want to get my master's degree, because once I get my master's degree, I am actually eligible to teach it. So
right.
I want to put a writer's room right here in Du Bois where I could teach people how to screenwrite. And like there's going to be 3 levels to it. So the top level is going to be the round table where the big boys play. The middle level is going to be the school. And then the bottom level is going to be like the cafeteria, the workout gym, the think space,
Nice.
and all that stuff. And what I want to do is I want to go to Hollywood and sell the scripts. And, instead of having them come to me saying, hey, we want the next big franchise, I will go to them like, hey, I got your next big franchise.
Right.
And the reason why I want to do it here in Du Bois, because everyone's like, why would you want to do that in Du Bois? Why don't you go to like Atlanta or something like that? I'm just like, economy, man. Like, it's going to help balance the economy and...
It's no different than wanting to bring entertainment and stuff here. It's like, sure, I've been to California, could have done it there, but there's a million of those things already happening there. Areas like this need it more than any place.
Bro, there is so much untapped potential here.
That's what I mean. Like, there's all of this stuff here, and sure, it's hard stuff, it's difficult stuff to navigate, but with the right people in place, you can create something that literally a whole entire community here and people that would come here for all of them to enjoy, and be a part of in some way. Because again, like, there might be someone right now sitting at home, like they want to be a comedian or an actor, or they want to write movies or books. I could never do that. I'm just fucking Joe Schmo from fucking Du Bois. How am I going to do that? I'd have to go to
St.
Hollywood.
Mary's. There's nowhere around
I'd have
here.
to go to Hollywood to do that. No, actually, there's a fucking place right here that you can get your start. You can get a foundation, and you can actually build yourself into what you're going to be, and then maybe you will go out there.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. And even with you, dude, like
expand the access.
When I told people about you, like, and I was like, he lives in St. Mary's. They're just like, he lives in St. Mary's? I'm like, yeah. Like, there are people like that are around here.
And I've gotten that reaction more times than I can count, to where, like, I have, like, this preset message that I probably sent to you as well. Like, hey, I'm a tattoo artist. I do all these things, and I have a new podcast that I'd like you to be a guest on. And they're like, oh, okay, well, where are you at? And most of them are assuming a Pittsburgh or a city of some sort. And when they find out that it's in a local area in a small town like this, it's like there's so much positive feedback to like almost like they didn't think that something like that was possible here,
Right.
which is so strange to me because like it's like literally with the stuff that we're using and the stuff that we have access to, you could do this from anywhere. I could be in a field in Zimbabwe and be doing a podcast. You know what I mean? Like, so it's funny that you can bridge that gap for people to think like, oh wait, that kind of stuff is possible in a town where I didn't think it had anybody that would do stuff like that or could sustain something like that. And most of the people that I've reached out to are so excited because they feel like they have been recognized for maybe something that they're doing, which in most cases, the right people are doing it regardless of recognition.
Right.
But when you have somebody that's completely outside of what you're doing, because it's easy for me, like we hang out all the time. I'm at the club. I'm like, dude, you're awesome. You're going to be a great screenwriter. I'm building you up. I'm jerking you off. It's great. Like I would do that. I'm your friend. But whenever it's somebody that you might not have ever crossed paths with says, hey, man, like your words, dude, like they make people feel good. You're doing something right. Like I enjoy just the stuff that you're trying to accomplish. You get recognized for stuff that you're doing by somebody on the outside. You're like, holy shit, man, like it is working. What I'm doing is reaching new people and new minds. And so then me and you cross paths. Now everybody that has heard me say this same shit 1,000 times gets further validation by having someone like you come in from the outside and say the same things, feel the same way, and also tout this same message of like, we need to care about ourselves. We need to communicate better. Because a lot of people probably feel that way, but it's like, it's easy to feel alone until somebody else is sitting right next to you and say, yo, what, dude, I feel the same way every day. I might look like I'm killing it, dude. It looks like I'm in my best shape of my life and I'm doing 10 things that I'm passionate about. But boy, am I scared and insecure and nervous and fucking, jealous of the dude who's already done it. And it's like, I'm the exact same fucking person you are, sitting in the exact same boat. I'm just in a nicer one right now. So it's like to level the playing field for people and say like, you know what, like when I reach out to people, they're like, I wouldn't even know what I would even talk about. Like you'd be surprised. You sit down, we could talk for 5 hours, and it's so easy, And I think that more people gain information this way better than they would like scrolling through a news feed. It's easy to write something off. I liked it. That counts. But like to sit down and have a real conversation, like, dude, I'll take everything that we talked about here and I'll carry that with me forever.
Right. And like it goes right back to that Batman analogy that we were using.
And I said it too before. Now people that know me and know of me now know you. And they're like, oh my God, there's somebody else that's similar mindset, doing similar things, but doing completely different things at the same time. I'm not a screenwriter. Maybe somebody that knows me who always wanted to be. And, like I can't help them do that.
No.
But now I've bridged the gap and networked with somebody that can maybe help somebody that I know do something cool with you. It's the same thing I said about her. I was stoked when you said that you had a girl that wants to be a photographer and you're trying to give her a leg up. Come shoot some stuff with me because it's good experience. It helps me. I get some photography done for my shit. Build a portfolio for yourself. It's like, so like I literally did the exact same thing. We're like the same person, dude. Literally did the same thing for her. It's like she came to get a tattoo. She told me very, very briefly that she liked photography. I'm like, listen, you want to come down here 7 days a week and shoot photos of tattoos or shoot photos for the podcast, shoot photos. I know musicians, I know artists. This is one great access and exposure for you and you to hone your craft as a photographer, but also it helps me. Helps the people that are also the subjects of the photos. It's like, so you could do all of this stuff and it's like, it's not costing you anything. You're building, a network of people to where now maybe you and her might be like, hey, you know what? I need an extra camera. I need an extra set of hands. Hey, can I grab your photographer and take her with me? And it's like everybody can help each other accomplish all the stuff that they want to do. It's like nobody's ever in competition with anybody.
No.
I can know 10 tattoo artists and not feel jealous at all in the room. Like they could be better than me. They could be doing things that I could never dream of doing. And I get excited for them the same as if it was me doing it. Like, and, man, I'm fucking sweating.
And that's what like I said, the Batman analogy again, like it takes the training, the work behind it all, is just as important as the finished product. You know what I'm saying?
And Bruce Wayne isn't over there going, hey, look at all the cool shit I just did yesterday. Look at all the crime I just stopped.
I mean, when Batman beats somebody up, people know it. You know what I'm
But they
saying?
don't know it's Bruce Wayne.
Exactly.
And Bruce Wayne never gets the credit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, there's even a large percentage of people that probably hate Bruce Wayne because he's this big up on the hill millionaire and all this stuff. He doesn't know what it's like to be down here struggling.
Right.
But little do you know that whenever he fucking, you know what I mean? Whenever the sun goes down, he's out on the streets, vigilante, saving the fucking poor. And
Batman's over there, you know, sitting there all bloodied and stuff like that, and you're not even thinking that that's billionaire Bruce Wayne, the one that you hate, is down there in the trenches right now, you know, getting his ass kicked to make sure you're safe.
Right.
You know?
And literally would have every reason not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
He's got money. He's safe. He could build a wall around his place. You know, it's where, like, you know, you don't have to stand out the front lines and take all these shots, but you do it because you know the benefit of who you are.
This is exactly us artists. This is exactly it right there. We don't have to do what we do. We choose to do what we do because we know that what we have to offer and what we are offering is going to help other people. We're not here for our self-interest of the white picket fence, the stable job, and the, you know, bulletproof relationship or whatever, or just wait until the weekend comes so we can all go out and get drunk and just forget about our problems and numb them. No, like, we are here because we know that there are people out there that need to hear what we're saying, need to hear or need to see what we're tattooing. You know, they need to know that there's just a couple of guys in central Pennsylvania that get it.
Yeah, and it's funny too in the sense of the imagery and the tattooing too, because again, like, there's a lot of it. I mean, most of it is selfish because I could do a tattoo and never see it again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't keep that. But also too, to be the person that's able to bring somebody's maybe ideas or their vulnerabilities or their insecurities either to light or to heal them. You know, like, you might meet somebody and fucking write a story about them or write a screenplay about their life or something to where, like, you know, you've given them closure or kind of given them strength in some way from your words or from, you know, something like that. It's the same thing with, like, a tattoo. Without me, somebody might have an idea or something that they need and they can't get it because they can't produce it themselves. They can't find the right words. They can't produce the imagery. They can't express it in the right way. But because of who we are and because we're out there and available to essentially everybody, they can come to us. And I said this on the last podcast that, like, everybody that walks in is vulnerable in some form or insecure in some form, and they're putting their trust in you to improve their appearance, improve their confidence, you know, make them look better and make them feel better. So it's like, you know, you have this opportunity to either, you know, make them feel better or worse, you know. So it's like you're like this vessel for other people that are not as blessed to express themselves so freely and so naturally, you know what I mean, to where, like, again, they can plug into you and use you as a vessel for expression, you know, whether it be through words or through music or through, you know, scenes or through artwork. You know, it's a really weird thing to be an outlet and also to be a vacuum for other people, because again, I'm sucking in all kinds of people. And I'm actually able to even see potential in people that they might not be able to see themselves.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You just say, hey, you know what? You actually would be really good for this. You'd be really good for this. Hey, you should do that. You know, like, you're sitting on insecurities and telling yourself that you could never do it. But here I am to tell you that you can.
Yeah, you know, and I actually did that when I casted for a short film that I directed. This is what got me into screenwriting. There's this guy that I knew. He looked perfect for the part. And I told him, like, hey, and he's a musician, you know, so I told him, like, hey, you want to act in my film? He was just like, oh, I've never acted before. I don't know if I could do it. And I said, but you're an artist. That's all I need. I need an artist. I don't need an actor, because you understand the dedication, you understand the discipline, and you're going to pull it off. He acted in that film, and we showed it at that festival. He was everyone's favorite actor.
No way.
Yes, and and it's just because, you know, like you said, we see things that people don't, you know, exactly get, and that's what I love so much about being an artist. You know, like, it's a blessing and a curse. You know what I'm saying? And then I wrote a script one time called The Phoenix Effect, and it's about a porn star that becomes an MMA fighter. So, like, cause like she was the daughter. She's the daughter of a pastor, and she, you know, went the wrong way, and then she comes back, and everyone's just like, oh, she's dirty, she's filthy, or whatever. So she's like, okay, I'll show y'all. You know what I'm saying? Wow. And I wrote that, and I let my one friend, who was just really, she was interesting, we'll say. I let her read it, and she did a complete 360. You know, and she was just like, I never realized how much I over-sexualize things until I read your script.
Really?
You know, and I was like, see, that's why I do what I do. You know, because I didn't get a trophy out of that. I didn't get, you know, an Oscar out of that.
Right.
I didn't even so much as get a hug. I just got a text message that said, I messed up. I understand. And then I sit here and I watch her on social media. She's doing great. She's married now, has a kid on the way. And I'm just like, that's why I do it. That's it.
Well, and it's got to feel good too, especially when like that's not ever your intention either, you know, because again, like you would do what you're doing even if nobody else ever gave you any feedback, you
Mhm.
know, and as an artist, that's where you're selfless in that way. So it's like it's really cool whenever somebody takes the time to say, hey, you know what you did actually got me thinking differently, or it got me doing things differently, like got me off my ass and got me situated. It's like, man, that wasn't my goal,
Mhm.
but that's what I can always hope that like the message, the underlying message of everything, because it doesn't matter if I'm painting or drawing or doing a podcast or writing something. It's like at the end of the day, the core message is always, always, always the same. You know what I mean? And it's like it's just nice whenever that kind of, you know, leaks through a little bit, and you get to like get some of that feedback, because like otherwise you just are kind of, you know, well, I hope that people are feeling good and understanding it and getting the message, you know, because
And, you know, that makes you confident.
if they don't, I'm going to keep doing it. You
right.
know, but
Right, and that makes you confident because I wasn't going to do anything with that script, but now since she did that, I am going to go back, I'm going to rework it, and I'm going to put it out there.
Yeah, it touched one person the right way. It might be able to, I mean, again, the masses, even if it just changes 10% of the way that people are thinking, those 10% are going to then take that information and that new perspective and infect another 10% and another 10%. Yeah, it's infectious, and that's why I always loved art. You know, like no matter whether you like it, hate it, understand it, or don't understand it, somebody out there is getting exactly what you're trying to say. You know, like so, you just got to keep doing it. You know, and like this is where it goes all the way back.
Mm-hmm.
Stop looking for that instant result. Stop looking for that, you know, that product essentially. Because again, I need to put in, you know, tons and tons and tons of work before I even start looking at like my result. You know, like I know that I'm not going to really see any result in what I'm doing for a while. You know, and when I do, you get that little bit of that checkpoint, that validation.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't lean into that either, because if you always need that, you're going to be chasing that forever. You know.
Well, I'll give my last statement here. Freaking, because I don't know about you, but I'm getting kind of hungry. But like,
yeah, and we'll fucking shoot some. We'll wrap it up here.
So like
Final thoughts.
my last kind of statement until the next one is kind of going to piggyback off of what you just said. One of the biggest things that keeps me going or whatever is and I don't like the 2017 version of Justice League that Joss Whedon directed. There's a whole story. There's no wait. I'm going somewhere with this. But there's a whole story behind all that drama that went on with that movie. But you know that's going to be a podcast in of itself. But like, but there is one quote in it that like absolutely I think is just like it summarizes everything. The Justice League is getting ready to take on the bad guys or whatever, and Flash is kind of having like an anxiety attack. He's like, you know, I've never actually been in a fight, you know, I just kind of push people and run away and that sort of thing. And Batman looks at him and he goes, save one person. Just save one and you'll know what it's like. And Flash goes in there and he saves that one person, and all of a sudden he's on fire and he wants to keep doing it. And that's kind of what keeps me going, you know, like that chick that I was just talking about with Phoenix Effect. You know, I'm sitting there and I'm just questioning, is this gonna go anywhere? Even with Coliseum, when Coliseum started winning me stuff. Again, stories for another time because I don't want to sit here any longer. But like, you know, I write these things and I'm sitting here like, this is stupid. No one's gonna read this, or this ain't gonna go nowhere. So I'll share it with that one person, and they'll be like, your words changed my perspective, or you know, I can't stop thinking about your script. Or the one girl, she was just like, why isn't this a movie yet? You know, like stuff like that. You know, it just save one, you keep going.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming up here and sweating with us, brother. We really appreciate it, man. It's been a blast, and we absolutely will do more of these for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Got a lot of cool stuff I think that we could end up doing together, even outside of the podcast. I think that there's a lot of potential here, Drew. So, alrighty, brother, we're gonna go have some fun and maybe get something to fucking eat.
Yes, let's do it.
We out of here. Woo!